Chapter 401. Unexpected precious materials. Although these flying swords were good, they still couldn't enter Yang Chen's eyes. Actually, the Pure Yang Palace has a number of good swords, which could make many disciples dilute. Of course, the viewers have a share, plus these Cypress monster family, of course, must first enjoy this advantage. In terms of loyalty, these monsters were more trustworthy. Everyone needs a good medicine, but a simple elixir could have no good effect, so it was best to refine it. There was Yang Chen, the best alchemist master in the mortal world, so they did not need to bother with the medicinal herbs. For the old patriarch, Yang Chen gave him a promise directly. As long as his family reached the bottleneck and needed a pill to break through, Yang Chen would prepare a suitable pill for them. Everyone liked this situation with great joy. Yang Chen released Azhu and Abby, he let them put the medicinal herbs in the Immortal's cave into the medicine garden, and they also sorted it out. This Immortal's cave looked like a good space, auxiliary medicine grew here, and with a little modification, it would be the best medicinal garden, just to keep the female apprentice who was good at planting medicine. There were still large palaces that have not been explored. Yang Chen took the Gongsanling, and they explored them one by one. Shikui and Xia have already found a satisfactory flying sword, and they were happy to follow him. The two monster cultivators actually have their own body parts they were refining as their life source magic weapons. The fangs of Shikui, the tongs, and the poisonous thorns of Xia were powerful weapons, but now they were still in the process of quenching of the magic weapons. It was not easy to use, so these two flying swords just let them use it temporarily. Walking along the way, they could see that this small Immortal's cave was very well crafted by the original owner. The materials used in it were also one of a kind. It was not known how much resources that he embezzled from the greatest heaven sect in the past that he was able to concoct such a delicate Immortal's cave. In addition to the swords court, there was also a material room. There were a lot of materials in it, even if it was placed in the present, they were also all rare and precious materials. There were several materials in it. It was what Gao Yu refining of the dragon horn flying sword needed. Yang Chen was of course welcomed of it. Further inside, it was an alchemy room, but there are not so many herbs in the alchemy room, it was empty, only a huge medicinal cauldron was in the middle. But there was no medicinal kai in the cauldron, obviously it has never been used. The quality of this medicinal cauldron was also very good, but the method of it refining was the same as those flying swords. It should be the owner of the Immortal's cave who refined it. This medicinal cauldron, in the future, could be prepared for some sect talents who were good at alchemy. The innermost room was a study room, and the bookshelf made of gold jade has not been rotted for thousands of years. There were hundreds of jade sheets placed neatly here. Yang Chen's eyes flashed with rays of light. The things recorded in this jade slip were usually passed down. In particular, this kind of arrangement was definitely a good thing, it was beyond Yang Chen control for being tempted. He picked up hundreds of jade slips and looked through them one by one. The first 100 ones were almost all cultivation methods. Moreover, they were also some of the high-quality cultivation methods that the greatest heaven sect has collected. It was not known how it was carefully copied by the people of this cave and stored here. Perhaps it was the extra inheritance left by the greatest heaven sect for their younger generation, but it was now obvious that Yang Chen has gotten everything cheaply. There were also dozens of jade slips, which record some of the medicinal materials and alchemy, and naturally all of them become the property of Yang Chen. The most unexpected thing for Yang Chen was that there were more than 100 pieces of jade slips that recorded various refining materials and refining techniques. Some of these were lost in the current greatest heaven sect, and they were placed here. In particular, there were 10 pieces of jade slips recorded on the refining experience of the owner of the Immortal's cave, which was simply invaluable. The owner of the Immortal's cave left a very detailed record. All the flying swords, refining processes and techniques here have detailed descriptions. Even where there were mistakes and where he felt proud, they were specifically marked. Together with the medicinal cauldron and even the entire Immortal's cave refining process, the records were very clear. Compared with the things that were obtained in this cave, these jade slips were the most valued by Yang Chen. Especially in the last 10 slips, it was simply the complete experience of the owner of this Immortal's cave. Yang Chen looked through them, and some of them were even more detailed than some of the ones in the spiritual world. It could be imagined how happy his master Gao Yu and his master ancestor Wang Yong would be when they see these things. Of course, one of his future little apprentices who was good at refining the equipment would be very happy. After reading through it again and again, it seems that there was no good thing worthy of Yang Chen. He was going to use this method to collect the Immortal's cave, and he suddenly thought of a problem. The atmosphere inside was warm and full of spirit power, but there was no shadow of the spiritual pulse. When Yang Chen's heart moved, his spiritual awareness opened wide and he began to look around. After a while, Yang Chen discovered the clue and went straight to the alchemy room. On the ground under the alchemy room medicinal cauldron, there was a small circular gap and there was an earth fire in the ground. It was also this piece of earth fire that made the whole Immortal's cave warm as spring. The average person would habitually think that this was just the source of fire for alchemy, but in the eyes of Yang Chen, the fire was completely different. "You wait here, I will go down and see." He moved away the medicinal cauldron. Yang Chen looked at the earth fire outlet in the ground, snorted and then jumped directly inside. Yang Chen's spiritual root was the fire attribute, which was very clear to everyone. In this kind of earth fire, there would be nothing too big for him to handle, so everyone was very relieved. After he jumped into the entrance, Yang Chen found that the following was not a simple fire pulse. This piece of earth fire has covered almost 100 miles, which was exactly the size of this Immortal's cave. This was just the size of the fire pulse on the surface, the root of the fire pulse. It was not known how deep it was. For a time, Yang Chen's spiritual awareness still could not find the end of it. What surprised Yang Chen was that there was no trace of burning in this place, but it was filled with the underground hot and flowing magma. There was a trace of a different fire aura in the flames, which made Yang Chen catch up. This was actually a fourth fire true essence. Yang Chen never imagined that there was such a large piece of earth fire under the ice of this extremely northern ice sheet, and from time to time, there would be a fourth fire true essence which would condense here. Why was this Immortal's cave here? It was simply to cover the earth fire of this place and cover up the appearance of the fourth fire true essence. Otherwise, it would have long been occupied by the formidable monsters around. Although it was found that there was a fourth fire true essence in the earth fire, it was obvious that the original Immortal's cave master did not have the ability to take the fourth fire true essence. It was only by this Immortal's cave that he was hiding the place, presumably to be reserved for future generations. For Yang Chen, this was not a big difficulty. He had several methods of collecting the fourth fire true essence in his mind. He was a fire cultivator, in his past life has reached the point of a Great Principle Golden Immortal. The trivial fourth fire true essence really was not something that he could not handle. However, this glimpse of fourth fire true essence does not appear frequently. Yang Chen wanted to collect enough quantity to cultivate the fourth fire true secret art, but it was not so easy. Even if he was now to arrange the array, with Yang Chen's estimate, at least after 100 years before he would be able to have enough amount to cultivate the fourth fire true secret art. For Yang Chen, since he had discovered the fourth fire true essence, it was always better than not finding anything. In the next 100 years, as long as he was careful as to not let people discover in advance, it was the best way to take away the Immortal's cave. Fortunately, this time he was followed by his own people. Yang Chen pulled out from the earth fire and then said nothing. He went directly to the material room over there and took some materials and jumped into the earth fire again. After discovering the fourth fire true essence, Yang Chen looked at the materials in these materials rooms and it was immediately clear. Most of the materials left were fire attributes. He wanted to make preparations for this fourth fire true essence. He just didn't know how to get started, now everything was within reach. Not coming here was the bad luck of the greatest heaven sex expert. He didn't know that his own ancestors have left such good things behind for him. If he didn't find the troubles with the cypresses. Not only did he get stuck in the mountain river geographical map, but also these things that were left for him was obtained by Yang Chen. It took a whole month to arrange a mile-square formation, even if it was Yang Chen. Fortunately, with enough materials, Yang Chen could drain the fourth fire true essence produced in this earth fire spiritual pulse to a position to slowly gather it together and wait for the time to slowly pass. It would accumulate more and more. Satisfied, he departed from the earth fire spiritual pulse. Yang Chen's happy face was not hidden at all. Seeing this, Gongsun was overcome with curiosity. She couldn't help but ask what good thing is there. Good things that are hard to see in a millennium. Yang Chen laughed, holding Gongsun. He gave her a kiss and gave Gongsun an ambiguous answer. I can use it. Yang Chen was happy, so Gongsun was also naturally happy. She would not care what was below, as long as Yang Chen could use it, it was really a good thing. Putting everyone together, Yang Chen just warned everyone that this Immortal's cave, within 100 years, they shouldn't talk about it to anyone. Including Shikui and Xia. Of course, it was a big point, which one would violate the rules. Taking all kinds of materials from the Immortal's cave from flying swords and jade slips, the Immortal's cave stayed in the same place intact, and everyone still followed the rules of the coming time, riding Yang Chen's shuttle, changing road, and heading straight back to the Puryang Palace. Of course, the route change was for the sake of Gongsun mountain river geographical map. Yang Chen was not arguing with others along the way. As long as there was any monster in their encounter, he would immediately change their direction and leave at high speed. This was different from going to Immortal's cave. The white bear monster was on the road that they must pass, and so they couldn't avoid him. It doesn't matter when they were going home, he could avoid it. Even with the shuttle's high speed, because of the detours and avoidance, it took a full 2 years to return to the Pyongyang Palace. Along the way, Yang Chen certainly did not forget to instruct out his own apprentice. Similarly, the Cypress monster family also cultivated with all their efforts. As for Yang Chen himself, he was taking time on the road and absorbing 2 kinds of third-grade fire seeds, making the yin-yang burning heavenly fire more integrated and more powerful. Now it was only at the fusion of third-grade fire seeds, when it could be integrated with the fourth-grade fire seeds, it was estimated that it would be the time for Yang Chen to attack the Yuning stage. The group returned to the Pyongyang Palace. Yang Chen, of course, followed the old rules and went to see his master first. Of course, Liu Bai had to pay his respect to his master ancestor and meet his master's wife, but the master ancestor and his master's wife were the same person. After that, he went to see the master of the palace with the Cypress monster family. The Cypress monster family joined the Pyongyang Palace. This morning, Yang Chen had already greeted Palace Master Zhang Jiao and brought them back. Of course, there must also be a ceremony. So very good, I am taking this opportunity, I will hold a ceremony for this new apprentices in the Pyongyang Palace. Palace Master Zhang Jiao looked at the 100 cypresses that Yang Chen brought back and he was overjoyed. The strength of the tree monsters, Di Shanyu, have fully demonstrated it. But so many cypress monsters, with good training, later they would become a non-negligible combat power of the Pyongyang Palace, how could it not make Palace Master Zhang Jiao happy? However, Yang Chen still miscalculated the intention of Palace Master Zhang Jiao, thinking that it was only a simple ceremony inside the sect, but did not expect that Palace Master Zhang Jiao would make it known to the whole cultivation world. This time, the Pyongyang Palace celebrated on a grand scale, they recruited 200 or 300 disciples of the Hall of Eccentrics, with all kinds of cultivation bases. Among them, there were many Yuning stage masters, plus dozens Jitan stage monster cultivators, obviously the disciples who have been confiscated in the Blue Vault Mountain Immortals Cave were also counted among them. Nowadays, in all the major sects of various Dao sects, it was common practice to recruit the disciples of the monster race. Everyone was attacking everywhere and recruiting the monster race members everywhere. On the contrary, the Pyongyang Palace that first made the Hall of Eccentrics has been laying low and it was not moving. It was very strange. The original Pyongyang Palace of the at this time in the eyes of other sect turned into a conservative element, it could not help but make people feel a sense of ridicule. But this also showed the power of the greatest heaven sect. It could not be helped but said that the dead camel was still bigger than the horse, even if the greatest heaven sect suffered heavy losses, but with the implementation of the Hall of Eccentrics to recruit monster race disciples, they still has a power that the Pyongyang Palace could not match. If the Pyongyang Palace began to recruit the monster race, it would definitely be besieged by countless sects and it might not be known if their sect would have been destroyed. However, with the greatest heaven sect's methods, even if there was some opposition voices, they quickly disappeared in silence. Every sect was now pursuing it and now it was normal for the Pyongyang Palace to recruit the disciples for the Hall of Eccentrics. Just because each sect recruited disciples from different places, many sects could regard it as a great increase in strength. The ceremony was held by the head of the palace. It was also intended to be seen by others so that they would not underestimate the Pyongyang Palace. When he settled the Cypress monster family in a good place, Palace Master Zhang Jiao would naturally talk to Yang Chen about the ongoing. The result was naturally not surprising, the master of the palace also had an unprecedented satisfaction. After the narrative has been said, he looked at Yang Chen happily and asked, when do you think the wedding is appropriate, when should we hold it? If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 402. Miserable Yang Li. It was beyond the control of Palace Master Zhang Jiao for being overjoyed. This period was the most comfortable period of time in the memory of the Palace Master in the Pyongyang Palace. When Yang Chen was not there, those who came to ask for pills would naturally seek out the head of the Pyongyang Palace. In the past, the Pyongyang Palace must be sincere and fearful to receive the masters of the Daching stage. Now if some people were not on their list, they couldn't see Palace Master Zhang Jiao, but they still have to look at the mood at that time. How could this huge change not allow the Pyongyang Palace to be boisterous? In particular, the hundreds of heads that were slid out at the gates of the mountain have made many people smell discolored. At the same time, it was also the best gift for many masters to come to offer their respect to the mountain. Now there were no people who dared to discuss the killing business of Yang Chen. When they heard the name of Yang Chen, not to mention the powerful killers, they would directly go into seclusion and refuse visitors. Who would want to find trouble and have experts turn their head into gifts for the Pyongyang Palace? If some of the killer groups pressed down from top to bottom said that they couldn't do anything about him, would those who ran a single gang dare to touch his name? They were really not impatient to die. Yang Chen still didn't know about these things. Now he was just listening to Palace Master Zhang Jiao saying that he had already completed the marriage arrangements and naturally he was happy. However, Yang Chen also knew that his marriage was a matter of great importance and it was also necessary to look at the arrangement of the sect. Therefore, he was very cool to hand over the right to decide to the head of the palace. When the head of the palace think it is appropriate, that is when it will be done. Even if he became a 5th-grade alchemist master, Yang Chen never lost his bearing in front of the head of the palace, as always, he was respectful. This kind of outstanding disciple with both ability and political integrity, the master of the palace was simply more and more overjoyed. Okay, then wait a few decades, let the sect give you the most grand wedding. Palace Master Zhang Jiao laughed and said, the disciple was so good, the sect naturally could not lose his face, it must be a grand occasion. Next, the master of the palace would only introduce the experts who came to request for pills when Yang Chen was absent to him. In short, apart from the Greatest Heaven sect, the other major gates, including the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal, plus the 5 Element sect and Qianqin sect, all have made high-level appearances and hope that Yang Chen could help to refine their medicinal pills. Several large overseas rogue cultivators alliances have also met the requirements. As for some small sects, as long as there were masters of the Daching stage, they basically go to the sect to ask for pills. There was an endless stream of rogue cultivators coming to seek for pills. All the sects were respectful to the Pure Yang Palace. The sudden changes in status even made many Pure Yang Palace disciples extremely uncomfortable. From being neglected or even oppressed to slowly taking someone to treat them equally, it would take at least a few hundred years to become accustomed to it. But from the equal treatment of everyone to the enthusiasm, it seems that in just a few days, people were simply at a loss. It's all because of you, Yang Chen. Palace Master Zhang Jiao was heaping praises on him. You are the best disciple of the Pure Yang Palace, and the Pure Yang Palace is proud of you. This is the duty that disciples should do. Yang Chen did not take the merits, he still had the same humility. I am waiting for the day when the Greatest Heaven sect also bows. The Greatest Heaven sect's conspiracy to annex the Pure Yang Palace and bombing of the mountain gate of the Pure Yang Palace, this shameful events, although Yang Chen also bombed the gate of the Greatest Heaven sect, but it was not easy to let the head of the palace to extinguish his hatred. Yang Chen could also feel the change of mood in the palace master. However, for Yang Chen, the elimination of the Greatest Heaven sect was also his wish. At this point, there was no conflict between him and the head of the palace about it. After saying goodbye to the head of the palace, Yang Chen with the old patriarch of the Cypress monsters came to the residence of Gi Shanyu. This trip was to introduce the patriarch to Gi Shanyu to see if the old tree demon would take him as an apprentice. Sure enough, after seeing the old patriarch, the old tree demon agreed immediately and the old patriarch was honored to be the first disciple of the Pure Yang Palace's Hall of Eccentrics Hallmaster. Yang Chen brought back the Immortal's cave owner's refining experience and as expected by Yang Chen, Gao Yu and Wang Yong treated it as treasures, they have not let go of it and have been concentrating on it. He thought that the days in the sect would be very calm, but what Yang Chen didn't expect was that his wishful thinking was obviously only a luxury. From the second day after Yang Chen's return, there were people coming to visit him. For Yang Chen, these people who he has not met, they would have to meet each other. They were all famous. With Yang Chen's current status, he really had to go through it so as not to give people a sense of arrogance. These people came one after another, apparently knowing the news that Yang Chen returned to the Pure Yang Palace. It was estimated that there has always been people staring at the movement in the Pure Yang Palace. Everyone was thinking of being able to meet Yang Chen. Even if Yang Chen couldn't immediately start the alchemy, at least he should be familiar with it. In the face of this enthusiasm, Yang Chen could only meet them with a smile. All of them were predecessors, all of whom were relatives, and none of them were of the younger generations. Everyone who came was not empty-handed. They knew that Yang Chen liked to collect fire seeds. Almost everyone came with more or less different kinds of fire seeds. They didn't say anything and they left it to Yang Chen. In less than a month, Yang Chen received at least 500 or 600 kinds of fire seeds in the 3rd grade, these were just their gifts for the visits. It was not something that was too precious. It could be imagined what kind of gift would be received when Yang Chen started to refine the medicinal pills. Even the alchemist masters in the immortal world has always been given such golden treasures, Yang Chen understood this, so after the resignation, the gifts that each person left behind were politely accepted with a smile. As for the requirements of these predecessors in alchemy, they would have to discuss the time with the head of the palace. Whoever was first and foremost, they could even communicate in private, Yang Chen would not make decisions for them. The masters who came to visit also knew that Yang Chen was not rejecting them, but letting them decide the order on their own. Everyone asks for the sect at the same time, either to complete a task or to pay enough price to let the other party retreat. However, the most fundamental thing was that they still had to please Yang Chen, no matter what, as long as they were on good terms with Yang Chen, there would be no harm. Many people began to dig into the hobby of Yang Chen. Some people even knew that Yang Chen wanted to marry with 4 people at the same time and vaguely felt that Yang Chen liked beauty and began to search for some for him. After hearing these news, Yang Chen himself felt a little bit like crying and laughing. When did he become a pervert in people's eyes? The people who sent the fire seeds was a small vein of Yang Chen, but some people dig into the other way to get a more secretive thing closer to Yang Chen's mind. Some disciple of the greatest heaven sect, it seems that Yang Chen has not been getting along with him and he has even placed spiritual stones for his pursuit and there was still no result. Yang Zai's days were like hell. Although people who were in the greatest heaven sect should be safe in theory, but he does not feel any sense of security. Someone used spirit stones as a reward for Yang Zai's life. Yang Zai knew that this must be Yang Chen. Apart from his blatant expression of killing intent in front of Yang Chen, he has always been overcautious in the greatest heaven sect. Who in the division had he offended to the point of wanting to kill him, except Yang Chen, there was no one else. At the beginning, Yang Zai did not put this kind of thing in his heart. As long as it was not a fool, they would not take such a reward. Just for a few pounds of spirit stones, the one who would come to the greatest heaven sect to kill the disciples of the greatest heaven sect was purely a fool. However, the development of things has changed very quickly. With the improvement of the rewards, Yang Zai also began to panic. When he didn't care about it before, he could go out and cultivate around the greatest heaven sect and there was no danger. However, after the rewards were improved, Yang Zai had to start to be careful. Yang Chen's reward was at least 3 times his value at this level. The money was tempting, even if it was among the cultivators, this was also the unbreakable truth, the spirit stones could also be a big help for their cultivation. From that time on, Yang Zai easily did not leave the domain of the greatest heaven sect. Even if it was done, he was cautious, always ready to be attacked by people, he was so cautious and careful. Fortunately, his worry has not happened. Even though the greatest heaven sect was unfortunate these days, it was still a big sect of the majestic Tao sects. No one dared to play with the idea of killing a disciple of the greatest heaven sect in broad daylight. When Yang Zai was worried, he could not help but start looking for a solid backing for himself. Li Lihing, the young sect master, became the mountain of Yang Zai. It was said that the young sect master was the illegitimate son of the current sect master and would inherit the greatest heaven sect's ethics in the future. His future was boundless, it was definitely not wrong to follow the young sect master. However, it was not so easy to hold the thick thighs of the young sect master. After a long time of research, Yang Zai made a decision to sacrifice his sister Yang Lan. His brother Yang Zai was the hope of the Yang family. Yang Lan naturally cannot watch his brother in a dangerous situation, although he was in violation of her heart. However, she also had to accept Yang Zai's arrangement. They waited for the opportunity to approach the young sect master. Under the guidance of Yang Zai, several small undertakings came down and they were slightly favored in front of the young sect master, now they had a certain status. At this moment, Yang Zai was thinking that he had fallen on the back of the mountain. When he thought that he could rely on it and no longer fear any killer, the bad news of the young sect master's cultivation deviation suddenly came. The little sect lord actually went into cultivation deviation when he was cultivating. Although he didn't know what the main cultivation method of the young sect master was, it would definitely be very troublesome after the cultivation deviation. If you don't move, you would have no signs of fainting. When you are idle, you would be okay. Sometimes you would suddenly lose consciousness during the practice. Suddenly, the spirit power would be out of control, the spiritual awareness would be divergent and they would always be seriously injured. If someone was staring at the moment, maybe someday he would not know when he would die. In this regard, Yang Zai was almost angered by the heavens, he had already paid the price of his younger sister's innocence, and she became a Tao companion of the young sect master. How could the young sect master suffer this dramatic change? Could it be because of the double cultivation with his sister? Yang Zai thought so, even some elders who value the young sect master thought so. Poor Yang Lan went directly into the bottom of the greatest heaven sect and his brother, Yang Zai, was also implicated. Originally, Yang Zai was asked to come forward to convince Yang Chen to join them. However, Yang Zai forced Yang Chen to the opposite side without demur. This was not a good thing. In addition, the top management had to bow to Yang Chen on the secret key, which made the high level unhappy. With the introduction of Yang Lan to the young sect master, the top executives were more unhappy with Yang Zai. Among the high-level members of the greatest heaven sect who was not good at playing with their means, Yang Zai making Yang Lan close to the young sect master was seen through by a few elders at a glance. If it was not that the cultivation method of the young sect master has never been successfully cultivated by anyone, so it couldn't be completely blamed on Yang Lan's head. Maybe the elders would have taken a good look at Yang's eye. The house leaked to the night train and the boat arrived to make up the leak. At this time, Yang Chen once again raised his reward. This time, let alone the killers outside, even some of the sect members were tempted. The hearts of people were unpredictable and Yang's eye felt that he had no one to trust. Even if it was people in the greatest heaven sect, it seems that everyone was going to deal with him to collect the reward. The huge fear made him all the time even afraid to close his eyes. Even when cultivating, Yang's eye only dared to cultivate in the most obvious way. He didn't even try the deep level of meditation for fear that someone would pick up his head unconsciously while he was cultivating. He was restless when eating and his nights were very awkward. This was the current state of life of Yang's eye. If his foundation has not already been built, he may have become a madman under this tremendous pressure. But Yang's eye wishes that he was already a madman. At least a madman would not have any worries, there would be no fear, and no one would try to deal with him. As the fact that Yang Chen became a 5th grade alchemist master slowly spread from the top, gradually passed to the ears of ordinary cultivators, Yang's eye could no longer support the fear of despair, his whole person seems to become an empty shell in general. At this time, not to mention that Yang Chen used the spirit stones as a reward. If he even said one sentence, one meaning for others to understand. Naturally, there would be countless people who would be able to get rid of Yang's eye to win Yang Chen's favor. There was a person who was paying close attention to Yang's eye. This person was Senior Wine Immortal of the Wine Immortal House, who has been cooperating with Yang Chen. Many of Yang Chen's previous rewards were issued through the Wine Immortal House. Therefore, Wine Immortal was very clear about who the promoter of this reward was. However, by his status as Wine Immortal, it was not enough to find trouble for a junior in the foundation stage for a few pounds of spirit stones. Since Yang Chen gave a higher reward, naturally someone would be willing to pay attention to it. At the beginning, Senior Wine Immortal did not put this matter in his heart. However, after the news that Yang Chen became a 5th grade alchemist master spread, all the information related to Yang Chen became the focus of the Senior Wine Immortal. Soon his attention was focused on Yang's eye's body. This guy actually let Yang Chen use his rewards more than 10 times the price to ask for his life. He was obviously hated by Yang Chen. At this time, the Wine Immortals certainly hoped to have better contact with Yang Chen. Naturally, a weighty meeting gift was essential. He would be a very good gift for Yang Chen. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 403. The Consideration of the Wine Immortal. Of course, Yang's eye does not know that there was such a person who was tempted to stare at himself. However, he was now screaming at the wind in the grass, and even in the greatest heaven sect, he was in fear of his daily life. Who would have thought that a small Jitan stage disciple of a second-class martial arts sect could suddenly become a 5th grade alchemist master in less than a few decades? If he knew this early, why would he have bothered him previously? Yang's eye and Yang Chen were fellow villagers. Yang's eye remembered that when he saw Yang Chen, he felt that he wanted to take a few slaps. At that time, Yang Chen had already demonstrated the strength that the greatest heaven sect's top management wanted to recruit. How did he get blinded with greed and wanted to put him to death? If he was careful to recruit Yang Chen at the time, he would also be a man of great merits. Yang Chen would be a 5th grade alchemist master, but he would also likely reap the benefits of his recommendation. Such a big piece of meat, how could he not get more benefits from him than the young sect master? Being natives of the same village, at that time, if he sent his sister Yang Lan to Yang Chen, don't mention the greatest heaven sect, he could walk across the entire Dao sect's domain arrogantly. Unlimited regret made Yang's eye wants to bury himself in a pit after a series of happenings, leading to him now having to face the possibility of assassination at any time, made him want to cry without tears. But in remorse, Yang's eye had an anger that couldn't be vented. Who was Yang Chen? When he was in the Yang family village, he was just a small fish who was a tenant of Old Master Yang. At the gate of the greatest heaven sect, he was thrown out because he was a country bumpkin with no experience. Such a despicable thing turned out to be a pure Yang Palace disciple. If he was still mediocre, he would be able to do so. Why could he be so great in a second-rate sect? Even the top of the greatest heaven sect was tempted. He was carefully cultivated by Old Master Yang from a young age, and he was literate since childhood. When he was a disciple of the outer sect, he had a little more advantages than those who were of the same rank. He became a foundation stage cultivator and became a disciple of the inner sect smoothly. Could a descendant of a servant be better than himself? The inner guilt made Yang's eye more and more hateful of Yang Chen, and he wished he could break Yang Chen's body into shreds. However, he was only in the foundation stage, there was only one dead road for him against Yang Chen. It could not be helped, but said that the Wine Immortal was also good at trying to figure out people's minds. Yang Chen would rather use spirit stones as reward for Yang Zai's head instead of directly speaking it himself. He knew that Yang Chen did not want Yang Zai to die too quickly. The Wine Immortal predecessor was now at the Breathtaking stage, and naturally he also had a hot eye for the questioning inner heart pills. Although his cooperation with the Pure Yang Palace was good, but the news of some happenings could not be exchanged with the questioning inner heart pills. With how valuable the questioning inner heart pills were, he was afraid that even if Yang Chen refining it, it would not be so easy. But the information system of Wine Immortal House, they knew that the Blue Cloud Sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island got the questioning inner heart pills from the Pure Yang Palace. Naturally, it was not hidden from the Wine Immortal. However, with the financial resources and friendship of the Wine Immortal House, it was impossible to ask for pills from the Pure Yang Palace for the time being. They were unable to provide rewards that Yang Chen would be satisfied with and could not come up with those medicinal materials with thousands of years maturity. Now there was a big opportunity placed in front of the Wine Immortal. As long as he could make Yang Zai give him his head, he could naturally attract the attention of Yang Chen. As for the questioning inner heart pills, in fact, the Wine Immortal only needed one. Yang Chen could refine about 10 or so in one refining. That was still in the past. Now, Yang Chen was a 5th-grade alchemist master, and it was estimated that the pill success would become more and more. From the hands of the big sects, one could be deducted for him. In Greatest Heaven sect, the Wine Immortal also had some connections there. The Wine Immortal house could mediate in the major sects by relying on these connections. If the Wine Immortal sent a message that it was necessary to move an unpopular junior of the Greatest Heaven sect, naturally, many people would be willing to help. Yang Zai's days were even more inferior to hell. Even in the Greatest Heaven sect, there were many people who come from time to take care of him. Everyone's status was higher than his own, and the things he had to do were very reasonable. He does not dare not do anything that they told him. However, the things that these people told him to do looked simple, but each one needed him to go out, to collect any material, or to send a letter. Everything they gave him to do was calculated with the sect's contribution, which was a formal mission. However, Yang Zai did not want to go out, but he had to go out. On the one hand, being rebellious to the sect was a capital crime. On the other hand, if he went out and there were killers following him, it was also a death sentence. Under the boundless fear, Yang Zai could only go out with care and courage. It was a pity that no matter how careful Yang Zai was, under the care of the Wine Immortal house, where could his whereabouts be kept a secret? A few so-called killers arranged by the Wine Immortal quickly found him. A junior who was in the foundation stage, a few killers could easily take out Yang Zai 10 times, but the Wine Immortal just let them start to scare him. They made Yang Zai become hurt, and then every time things were getting dangerous, they would allow him to escape. After a few times in succession, Yang Zai heard the instructions to let him go out in the sect, and he would almost immediately reflect the embarrassment. The feeling of life and death hanging in the air, he no longer wanted to try. Waiting until the above instructions, Yang Zai would rather violate the rules of the sect and would not take another step. After several consecutive times, the law enforcement hall of the Greatest Heaven sect found Yang Zai. Judging from the information held by the law enforcement hall, Yang Zai was a foundation stage disciple who could not even complete some of the simplest sect missions, and later he was not able to complete the task at all, and even became a disciple who did not accept the sect mission. What was the use of such a disciple? The sect law enforcement hall certainly listened to Yang Yu's distinction. However, no matter how he checked, it was impossible to say that the simplest task of collecting materials from the disciples outside to the sect was to deliberately frame him. As for the fact that someone has put a high amount of rewards for his head, it was even more nonsensical. How could the Wine Immortal not take care of all the details? At the time of the plan, all the rewards for Yang Zai had been withdrawn. This was issued by the Wine Immortal house. It was of course an easy matter to withdraw it. After the inspection, the law enforcement hall did confirm that there had been a high reward for Yang Zai in the past, but it has now been removed. If Yang Zai refused to complete the sect mission within 2 years after the withdrawal of the reward, he would be punished by the sect law enforcement hall. Let the law enforcement hall of the Greatest Heaven sect punish Yang Zai, this process would continue for a long time. This was more difficult for Yang Chen to use the high amount of spirit stones as a reward for Yang Zai's life. Especially being hurt by the knife from the inside, the knife from the people around him, the feeling of swearing was even more painful than that from the enemy. Yang Lan was trapped in such pain. When the Wine Immortal met Yang Chen, he did not say anything more. He only gave Yang Chen a piece of jade slip, which recorded the days that Yang Zai had been having these years, and the punishment of the Greatest Heaven sect law enforcement hall on him. Yang Chen was very surprised, but immediately he became stunned. The Wine Immortal predecessor showed up to him in goodwill without asking for anything, but they were better than his own means. The Wine Immortal was old and spicy, and Yang Chen couldn't help but admire him. The procedure of the wine immortal was indeed more resentful than killing Yang Zai. In his previous life, Yang Zai bullied Yang Chen with the sect forces of the Greatest Heaven sect. Now he used a hand of the Greatest Heaven sect to punish Yang Zai. This was really a true payback and it made people happy. What the wine immortal wanted, Yang Chen understood it clearly, nothing more than the same was with the Jade Dragon wine, the same was the refining of the medicinal pills. From the cultivation base of the wine immortal which was now at the pecuning stage, he wanted the questioning inner heart pills. The relationship between Yang Chen and the wine immortal was not too deep, but they also had a lot of dealing. A lot of information needed by the Pure Yang Palace and Yang Chen could be obtained from the wine immortal house. Since the wine immortal predecessor did this thing that made Yang Chen feel comfortable and satisfied, Yang Chen naturally didn't mind bringing the relationship with the wine immortal predecessor closer. There was a friend who has no harm to himself. At the moment, Yang Chen didn't hold back and he took out the Jade Dragon brewing liquid directly and put it in several large jars. So many Jade Dragon wine liquids were enough for the wine immortal predecessor to not worry about his wine breaks in the next few decades. This is some of the auxiliary wines brewed by this younger generation junior. Which one is most suitable for the Jade Dragon wine? It needs the seniors to comment on it. To the Jade Dragon wine liquid, Yang Chen did not have some new wines. It was said to be newly brewed, but in fact there have been there for decades. For the wine immortal, this was simply the best gift. Not to mention that the value of these Jade Dragon wine that Yang Chen gave him has far exceeded the cost of using his manpower. The wine brewed by Yang Chen was simply a surprise. Who was Yang Chen? A 5th grade alchemy grandmaster, would he make a mistake in the wine he brews? How many people could enjoy the wine brewed by Yang Chen? What's more, Yang Chen said in the early decades when he met the wine immortal that those ordinary auxiliary wines were not enough to stimulate the delicious taste of the Jade Dragon wine. He wanted to brew a special auxiliary wine for the Jade Dragon wine. Yang Chen giving him these good things definitely made the wine immortal the happiest. In the name of wine immortal, it was naturally known that he was addicted to alcohol. When he heard Yang Chen's words, he couldn't help but want to open it and try it. Fortunately, the predecessor wine immortal was also handling the affair of wine immortal house. After so many years, he has already been able to exercise control and he happily accepted the wine of Yang Chen and was not rude to open it on the spot. The wine immortal also knew that this was the reward that Yang Chen gave him, indicating that he did a good job in Yang Zai's case. This was better news for the wine immortal. Yang Chen accepted his kindness and even gave him his favorite wine in return. For Yang Chen's medicinal pills, the wine immortal never thought that he would get it because of such a small matter. His purpose was to further his relationship with Yang Chen so that he could seek help from Yang Chen in the future. Now that the goal was fully achieved, how could he not become delighted? However, Yang Chen had another thought, looking at the happy appearance of the wine immortal, his heart suddenly moved. The wine immortal predecessor was born in a rogue cultivator's family and they had a lot of rogue cultivators. The wine immortal house was now a force that cannot be neglected by the cultivation world. If this force could be turned to the Pure Yang Palace, it would be more grasped for the future dealings with the Greatest Heaven sect. When he thought about it, Yang Chen still felt that it was an opportunity, perhaps it should be said to the wine immortal. Predecessor, this younger generation junior has some words to say, I don't know if it is appropriate to say it. Yang Chen took a moment and thought about it and he slowly said. While talking, Yang Chen took out some jade cups from his Qianqin bag and took out a good Jade Dragon wine that had been blended and filled 1 cup each for himself and the wine immortal. If there is something you would like to say, feel free to speak your mind. With the appearance of the wine immortal was happier. For Yang Chen's politeness, he didn't care, he would let him just say it. After Yang Chen laid down several restrictions, he carefully asked. Predecessor, this younger generation junior is very curious, with senior's achievement, no matter which big sect you choose to join, there are people who would welcome you with open arms, how come senior never considered it? The experience of the wine fairy was pure and Yang Chen was clear about this from his previous life, so he would have this question. To draw the wine immortal, of course, he must know what he wanted. Do you think that if this old man has entered a big sect, those people will treat this old man as a treasure? The wine immortal smiled a little bit unwillingly. Yang Chen stared and immediately became stunned. With the cultivation base of the wine immortal, he could be accepted, but it was impossible to become a high-ranking member in a big sect at this point. By relying on the wine immortal house, the wine immortal predecessor could give himself a place to rule, but no big sect would be willing to have such an intelligent system in the hands of a halfway cultivated cultivator. Naturally they would try their best to penetrate in the organization and then have the sect gain complete control of it. As a result, the status of the wine immortal predecessor would not be so high. If you look at the wine, he would rather throw it outside and you know that he was not a person under the candid. It was natural to understand this choice. And the small sect words would inevitably be unable to confront those big gates. If such an intelligent system was in the hands of a small sect, they would be courting disaster. It was better to be independent as it was now. No one was close to anyone. Who was more secure? The Wine Immortal house was among the cultivators, but it was also very difficult to survive. I don't know what senior think of my Pure Yang Palace. Yang Chen hesitated and finally said the words. The Wine Immortal was startled, then began to consider immediately. Compared with the big sects, the Pure Yang Palace would not naturally be strong. If he joins, he would definitely be entrusted with heavy responsibilities. This was in line with his requirements. Moreover, the Pure Yang Palace was now enjoying a pleasant cooperation with the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island, and its strength has begun to swell. Even if it was a large sect, it does not dare to easily take on the Pure Yang Palace. In particular, after Yang Chen became a 5th grade alchemy master, countless people would pay close attention to him. Their status was naturally more and more stable, and their future was boundless. If he joins the Pure Yang Palace, it seemed to meet the requirements of the Wine Immortal, and there would be no other sect to concern him. It seems to be a good choice. Soon the eyes of the Wine Immortal lit up. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 404. Fine Deeds. Joining the Pure Yang Palace. The Wine Immortal was seriously considering this issue. Obviously, joining them would be good, especially for him personally, it would come with great benefits. If you don't mention anything else, just the questioning inner heart pills were enough to make him tempted, not to mention that if he succeeds in his promotion into the Daching stage, he would only be more valued in the Pure Yang Palace, instead of being marginalized like another big sects. For the Wine Immortal house, it was also a great opportunity. The present resources of the Pure Yang Palace were so abundant that others would envy if they knew. The Wine Immortal house, who specializes in selling intelligence for a living, wouldn't they know about it? If he joins the Pure Yang Palace, at least those rogue cultivators could also have many opportunities. In particular, after joining the Pure Yang Palace, the juniors of the Wine Immortal house would have long-term interests protection. They would not have the backbone of the Wine Immortal once he has passed away. From then on, they would become poor and struggling rogue cultivators again. These juniors of Wine Immortal house were absolutely willing to join the Pure Yang Palace at this time. It would not be taken lightly, and now the status of the Pure Yang Palace disciple outside was absolutely enviable. The Pure Yang Palace was rising, but it has not yet fully emerged. It was necessary to absorb all aspects of power. If they could absorb the Wine Immortal house, it would also be a great opportunity for the Pure Yang Palace to improve. Moreover, with Yang Chen, the 5th grade alchemy master, even if the Wine Immortal joined the Pure Yang Palace, there were also very legitimate reasons. Because of the lack of self-confidence, the Pure Yang Palace could provide questioning inner heart pills, so it was impossible to resist the temptation. As for the Blue Cloud sect and Green Jade Immortal Island, they have already cooperated with the Pure Yang Palace, and they were happy with it. Secondly, even if they have a questioning inner heart pill, at most they could only give the Wine Immortal only one. The sect had their own Daching stage and Yuning stage masters, and they couldn't focus on one person. It's like the Pure Yang Palace had the most generous offer. This reason was given to the sect master of the small sect in the past, not to mention a small Wine Immortal house. At this moment, the Wine Immortal almost wanted to agree directly. But in the end, there was still some restraint in him, and he was forced to hold back. After all, the reason why the Wine Immortal house could become an intelligence dealer was because of its relatively independent position. If they became part of the Pure Yang Palace, then other sects would have concerns when dealing with them, which would affect the business of the Wine Immortal house. If the Wine Immortal house does not have such a convenient identity for obtaining information, then its status would definitely be weakened. If the predecessor does not want to join the Pure Yang Palace, we can establish a closer cooperative relationship between us. Yang Chen saw the hesitation of the Wine Immortal and said again. Closer cooperation. The Wine Immortal was obviously more interested in Yang Chen's statement. After all, there was a temptation to acquire the questioning inner heart pills. The Wine Immortal was still very happy to cooperate with the Pure Yang Palace. For example, all the information obtained by the Wine Immortal house can be sent to the Pure Yang Palace in advance. Yang Chen said with a smile, when necessary, the Pure Yang Palace will also provide certain protection for the Wine Immortal house. Listening to Yang Chen's words, the Wine Immortal's eyes narrowed. All the information was to be sent to the Pure Yang Palace. Wouldn't the Pure Yang Palace be the Wine Immortal house and the Wine Immortal house be the Pure Yang Palace? Of course, our two sides are only cooperating. Yang Chen said with a smile, I will pay the necessary remuneration and will never destroy the rules of Wine Immortal house. Paying for information and getting information was originally the business of the Wine Immortal house. This was certainly not a violation of their rules. However, what kind of reward could make the wine immortal make such a decision? Even the wine immortal was a little nervous. In the hands of Yang Chen, there appeared a jade box, which was slowly pushed to the front of the wine immortal. Looking at this jade box, the wine immortal's breathing also became rushed. Even if he was in the Yuning stage, after guessing what was possibly in this jade box, he still couldn't help but feel nervous. This is a questioning inner heart pill. Yang Chen directly exposed the content of the jade box as a deposit. It is just a first-grade pill, not a good thing, the seniors can accept it first. This younger generation junior will refine many second-grade questioning inner heart pills in the future. L will give wine immortal house too. Yang Chen released his hand and left the jade box in front of the wine immortal, and he slowly asked 3 questioning inner heart pills. I don't know if I can make a deal with them. The heart of the wine immortal has already leapt into his throat. In this jade box, it was the fulfillment of his dream. Perhaps he could break through his present bottleneck and enter the daching stage with this medicinal pill. However, listening to the following statement of Yang Chen, the wine immortal was even more shocked. Not a good thing. The wine immortal almost wanted to ask Yang Chen loudly, if the questioning inner heart pill was not a good thing, what could be considered a good thing? In these days, how many masters have been in contact with the Pure Yang Palace before and after? What were they doing? Isn't it just a matter of acquiring the questioning inner heart pill? Previously, because Yang Chen and the Pure Yang Palace had never announced their willingness to make alchemy for outsiders, now that they have announced, everyone would certainly want to ask for a few. Wasn't the questioning inner heart pill regarded as important by so many experts? Hundreds of people in the daching stage, thousands of Yuning stage experts, needed the questioning inner heart pills. In Yang Chen's eyes, it was not really a good thing. However, this was said by Yang Chen, and it was normal. As Yang Chen said it was only a first-grade pill, he could also refine the second-grade questioning inner heart pill. According to what the wine immortal knew, Yang Chen was the one refined so many second-grade, questioning inner heart pills for the Blue Cloud sect and the Green Jade Immortal Island. It was still a matter of decades ago. Yang Chen has now become a 5th-grade alchemy master. The level of his natural alchemy was even higher. It was not impossible to refine more second-grade questioning inner heart pills. Second-grade questioning inner heart pill, if a single first-grade questioning inner heart pill was not enough to let him break through, then the second-grade pill could absolutely guarantee it. What's more, there were still 2, he hoped he could use it to fulfill his wish of ascending. The heart of the wine immortal predecessor has been provoked and the sound made him feel big. However, the wine immortal did not feel that there was anything shameful. Not mentioning that he was a guy with a peak Yuning stage cultivation base, whoever it was changed to, even if it was the sect master of the greatest heaven sect, he may not be able to overcome such a temptation. Which cultivator did not want to ascend one day? If it was not that there was no hope, who would be willing to be trapped in the Yuning or even the daching stage for a lifetime? The price code given by Yang Chen was really exciting. Predecessor, 1 first-grade questioning inner heart pill, 2 second-grade questioning inner heart pills. If the senior still felt that something is wrong, make a proposal. Yang Chen said immediately, however, if the price is too high, then the deal could only be forgotten. It was a sudden business, so the wine immortal could not make a direct decision, but he was reluctant to let go of this opportunity. You must know that this was the moment when he was the closest to a questioning inner heart pill, and there were 3 questioning inner heart pills. The reward for the wine immortal house was actually given to the wine immortal. This the wine immortal knew. He has benefited from it, but there was not much input in the wine immortal house. This was naturally not easy to explain. Even if the wine immortal was the founder of the wine immortal house, it couldn't be said easily. In the previous transaction, the Jade Dragon wine was converted into spirit stones to let the wine immortal buy it with spirit stones, that is to say, it was like the Pure Yang Palace bought the information using spirit stones. If this time, the questioning inner heart pills were also settled in this way, the wine immortal himself does not know how much spirit stones he had to pay for the pills. You should know that the wine immortal has a lot of spirit stones, but the questioning inner heart pills could only be refined by Yang Chen, and he would need a rare and astronomical figure to pay for the pills. There were even a lot of masters of the daching stage who had planned to unite and were willing to jointly collect the medicinal herbs that was needed for the questioning inner heart pill and then refine the pill together. In this case, if he wanted to get a questioning inner heart pill, you could imagine the difficulty, let alone 3 and 2 of them were second-grade pills. After hesitating for a long time, the wine immortal finally made a decision after biting his teeth. He looked at Yang Chen and asked a general question: if the wine immortal house secretly joins the Pure Yang Palace, will you be okay with it? How in secret? Yang Chen brow frowned and he asked. This old man and several core masters will have joined the Pure Yang Palace, but we will all be secretive. Others in the wine immortal house will not know that all the information, of course, all of them are to be copied to the Pure Yang Palace. It is a business to be negotiated, what do you think? The wine immortal said his own opinion, watching Yang Chen, waiting for Yang Chen to decide. In the end, the wine immortal also added, I will join the Pure Yang Palace, I can swear by a hard oath to be loyal to the Pure Yang Palace. We will follow what the sect master decides, and I can also get the support of the Pure Yang Palace. There's no problem. Yang Chen was overjoyed by the idea of merging with the wine immortal house. Originally, he wanted them to be a perfect intelligent system. Now that the goal was achieved and the business of the wine immortal house was not affected, it was naturally a happy situation, so, Senior, and I can go to see the master of the palace. Soon the two appeared in front of the head of the palace. After listening to Yang Chen's narrative about adding the wine immortal, the shock on the face of the palace master could not be described with words. The wine immortal house, this could almost be said to be the #1 intelligent system among the cultivators. It was an organization which covered monsters, demons and Taoists, now they were becoming the subordinate to Pure Yang Palace. Although it was impossible to explain it to the outside world, all the information was copied to the Pure Yang Palace. For the Pure Yang Palace, they would have countless pairs of eyes outside, they would stare at everything that happens in the mortal world. Was there something more shocking and more illusory than this? For a time, the head of the palace was stunned and could not say a word. If it wasn't for Yang Chen's rudeness in interrupting the head of the palace, it would have been a bit unreasonable. Coughing a few times, he called back the attention of the head of the palace. Sorry, I am sorry that this happy event is too sudden, and it is a surprise. The head of the palace immediately apologized to the wine immortal. However, such surprises were also reflecting the importance of the wine immortal to the head of the palace, so that the wine immortal could not help but raise his feeling of being valued. Soon, the head of the palace called to gather all the elders to come to the proceedings. When they heard the news that the wine immortal house was to be merged into the Pure Yang Palace, almost all of the elders were having different kinds of surprise and excited expressions, which was almost the same as the head of the palace. Of course, welcome. Several elders directly stated that with the wine immortal house, the Pure Yang Palace would simply be a tiger, and if this kind of good thing was pushed away, then they would be fools. What's more, the core members of the wine immortal house and the wine immortal would make a hard oath, which was more reassuring. The wine immortal is now an elder of the Pure Yang Palace and can participate in the Pure Yang Palace's meetings and business at any time. The palace master immediately gave the highest treatment to the wine immortal. Now he could attend any discussion with the palace master and the elders. The status was definitely the core position of the Pure Yang Palace. As for the operation of wine immortal house, it was natural to beat lanterns outside, as usual, no one would change anything. Only the information originally given to the wine immortal house would be copied by the wine immortal himself and sent to the Pure Yang Palace. Those who joined the Pure Yang Palace were naturally the core disciples. The palace master made a direct decision that as long as their cultivation base was promoted, whatever medicinal pills they needed would be provided by the Pure Yang Palace. Under this circumstance, it was also a solution to the worries of these core members of the wine immortal house. They only need to manage the wine immortal house with care and they could grow and develop. Their future cultivation would have the secret support of the Pure Yang Palace. Now there was no need to mention the wielding and the defying stage, even if it's ascending one day, it would not be a problem. Naturally, the wine immortal went to settle everything in the wine immortal house, and the Pure Yang Palace also arranged everything for the wine immortal. Later, everyone's eyes were once again concentrated on Yang Chen's body. Only when he came back a few days from outside, Yang Chen actually brought such a surprise to the sect. The elders looked at Yang Chen with sparkling gaze. Was there anyone who made them more speechless than this disciple? Even if everyone else tried in their lifetime, it was estimated that there were not many major things that Yang Chen has done in the past 100 years that they could accomplish. Next, the wine immortal predecessor gave the people some insights about the sensitive information in the near future, especially for the things about Yang Chen and the Pure Yang Palace, but also with detailed explanations. Some of the defying stage masters wanted to unite and ask for questioning inner heart pills, this was normal, not worth making a fuss about. Several large sects were also looking to cooperate with the Pure Yang Palace, these were not news. The most noticeable thing were two other news. One was the attitude of the Greatest Heaven sect. It seemed that the top-level members of the Greatest Heaven sect were divided. Some people wanted Yang Chen to help treat the injured defying stage elders and the young sect master. By the way, they also liked to ask for some questioning inner heart pills. The other part of the hardline faction wanted to destroy the Pure Yang Palace with their thunderous might and capture Yang Chen. The two sides were arguing, so there was no conclusion yet. Another news that he didn't know where it came from was that as Yang Chen was able to become a 5th grade alchemy master at this age. Some people speculated that Yang Chen had obtained the secret inheritance of a master of alchemy. Many people wanted to get this inheritance from Yang Chen's hands, and even some people have the idea of killing him to get it. In particular, some people even clamored for ruining Yang Chen. They could not let him stand out in the mortal world and step on other alchemy masters. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 405. Secluded Cultivation. It was normal to have differences within the Greatest Heaven sect. After all, the Greatest Heaven sect used to dominate the Tao sects. Why would they want to lay low with such a low profile? Even if Yang Chen helped to interpret the secret key last time, he was still arrogant, but it was only the price to pay for some financial resources. And this time, to save their people, they must use Yang Chen's 5th grade medicinal pills. Everyone knew how difficult it was to become a 5th grade alchemy master. There was also no guarantee that Yang Chen could successfully refine the medicinal pills after they provided the medicinal herbs. To request the help of a 5th grade alchemy master, the financial resources needed would definitely not be low, even if it was superficial. The sect master of the Greatest Heaven sect or the elders would also have to come to Yang Chen personally. To make the high-level officials of the Greatest Heaven sect come to a young generation junior to seek for help, this was a shameful matter for them. How could the overbearing people in the Greatest Heaven sect bear it? Originally, the Greatest Heaven sect was very dissatisfied with the rise of the second-class sect, like the Pure Yang Palace, especially when the arrangement of the Greatest Heaven sect in the Pure Yang Palace was uprooted, although they did not know whether the Pure Yang Palace already knew it was the layout of the Greatest Heaven sect. But it was always a loss for them in the Pure Yang Palace. Now they have to put on a low profile in the Pure Yang Palace and ask one of their descendants to rescue the injured elders and the young sect master of their own ancestral sect. How could this torture be tolerated? Was it the Greatest Heaven sect or the Pure Yang Palace who was the leader of the Tao sects? The Pure Yang Palace should be the one to take the initiative to flatter them. There were many people who wanted to destroy the Pure Yang Palace and kill Yang Chen. They originally planned to kill Yang Chen and even sacrifice the lives of 6 Yuaning stage elders, but they only endured for the secret key. Could it be because of the injured elders and the younger sect master they had to endure again? Speaking of it, the 3 Dacheng stage elders and the young sect master were indeed very important, but would they have to throw away the face of the Greatest Heaven sect for them? They should simply kill Yang Chen once and for all. As for the injury of the 3 masters of the Dacheng stage, it was only a matter of enduring for hundreds of years. After a few hundred years, it could still be cured. There was also the young sect master. Those who don't know the inside story would certainly not think how important he was. How could a possible illegitimate child be worthy of throwing away the face of sect for? The Greatest Heaven sect has not officially approached the Pure Yang Palace, and it was precisely because of the quarrel between the two sides. There was a dispute within the Greatest Heaven sect. This was a good thing for the Pure Yang Palace and several other large sects. Everyone wanted to watch the Greatest Heaven sect split. The second news was a bit strange. Obviously this was the news that some unwilling alchemists have released. It may be related to several sects of alchemy. For the time being, there was no further news from the Immortal house. However, many people were very curious about Yang Chen's age as a 5th grade alchemy master. It was said that he has received a secret inheritance, which sounded highly credible. The guilty of acquittal was the same in the world of cultivators. When most people thought that this was the case, some people would have to think about it. It was normal to get Yang Chen with this idea. Inevitably, there were some alchemy masters in the Yuaning stage or the Dacheng stage who would plan against him. Yang Chen was now the best treasure of the Pure Yang Palace, so the sect would not want to see Yang Chen have an accident in any way. Since the Immortal house got news in this regard, the head of the palace was suddenly tense. You should not go out for a while in recent years. You should stay in the sect. At this time, the palace master did not care about Yang Chen's wishes and gave him an order directly. The Immortal is best to collect some exact information, wait until you have a clear idea of this matter. This was for Yang Chen's security considerations. Yang Chen hesitated a little and accepted the order of the head of the palace. These years he has also gone out for a long time, so he could stay in the sect for some time and cultivate. Since he decided to stay in the sect, Yang Chen began to determine the direction he wanted to cultivate. After his full attribute has been condensed, the next step was the improvement of his spiritual power. This was an urgent matter. Yang Chen's yin and yang 5-element secret art was now balanced and it was time to hit the middle Jitan stage. The body refining technique has to be continued and the realm of the mountain picking strength has been completely consolidated. It was moving toward the next realm and it was believed that it would be achieved in a decade or two. Speaking of the body refining technique, Yang Chen could not help but sigh at his good luck. In his previous life, he did not put this kind of stupid sculpt that was only a martial arts practice in his eyes, but only after he got the cultivation method of the body refining technique, he found that he still looked down on this body refining technique. Because of the harsh conditions of cultivating it, many cultivators couldn't reach the standard of 1000 Jin physical strength unless they reached the immortal world. At that point, because of the rise from the mortal to the spiritual world and the spiritual world has ascended to the immortal world, the body has become immortal. It was naturally difficult to practice such a refining technique to transform the immortal body. Even if it takes thousands of years, people who could practice to the fourth layer were very rare. On the contrary, Yang Chen's body from the fetus was the easiest to transform, and Yang Chen's body, which has been transformed by the essence of the immortal life of the immortals, so it took him only several decades to cultivate to the second layer. 10,000 Jin strength, mountain picking strength, river turning strength, sea pouring strength, earth pulling strength, heaven raising strength, corresponds the yellow turban strongman body refining technique 6 boundaries separately, but even in the heavenly court. The strongest cultivator of the body refining technique has only reached the peak 4th layer, and he has never heard of someone who has cultivated it to the realm of the heaven raising strength, and these yellow turban strongmen could only serve on the lowest chores in heavenly court. Yang Chen now has hope that within the millennium, he would cultivate the 6th layer to perfection. This was simply a gift from the heavens to Yang Chen. When it reached the sea pouring strength, those powerful yellow turban strongmen could resist the masters of the demon race with their flesh. He really doesn't know how powerful it would be. The remaining was the 3-element secret art. Yang Chen has never interrupted its cultivation by one day. Because of the double cultivation between Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling's spiritual awareness, Yang Chen does not have to worry about the splitting of his spiritual awareness for now. However, he believed that with the deepening of his cultivation base, he still has to face this problem. If Yang Chen does not want to split his spiritual awareness in his own realm, he has to consider having another spiritual awareness double cultivation with his 2 other wives, Sun Qingxu and Zhanxian. As always, Yang Chen chose to go into seclusion for his cultivation. Gao Yu got the inheritance of the immortal cave master and studied tirelessly. At the same time, she was also sacrificially refining her own dragon horn sword and did not retreat with Yang Chen. Gongsun Ling still has to go out and cultivate. She now has 3 more Yuning stage masters to sacrificially refine the mountain river geographical map. Naturally, the more complete the mountain river geographical map was, the better it would become. She must go through at least all the domain of the Dao sects and if possible, go out to sea and go around the domain of rogue cultivators. There were sharp swords formations on her, plus the high speed of her ship, not to mention the praying mantis puppet. For the time being, Gongsun Ling's safety was not to be worried about. Unless someone was targeting Yang Chen, even if it was a stupid fool, they would know that moving against Gongsun Ling was equivalent to completely offending Yang Chen. For Yang Chen, it was not known how many daching stage masters were willing to use some people's heads to please him. Yang Chen was having his seclusion on a spiritual vein in the Immortal's cave. Xiao Yan has now cultivated to the 6th picture. It was estimated that after the completion of all the cultivation methods of the 8 pictures, the 2nd layer of the Dragon Tower can be opened to cultivate more advanced cultivation methods. Now the body shape of Xiao Yan seems to be slightly larger and the Dragon Kai was more and more intense. All the flying swords in the hands of Yang Chen were digested once in its abdomen and they were wiped clean and there was no sword spirit in them. Perhaps after the 2nd layer of the Dragon Tower was opened, Yang Chen could try to let Xiao Yan go to collect the Dragon Ball in the Dragon Palace treasure house, which was the real Dragon Palace treasure. It was said to be a closed-door cultivation, but in fact, Yang Chen wanted to refine his own yin-yang, 5 elements flying sword. The discovery of the 4th fire true essence made Yang Chen very happy, and some of the fire attribute materials found in Immortal Cave were the best for the refining of fire attribute flying swords. Yang Chen refused to take these materials out. This would be used to refine the 4th fire flying sword among Yang Chen's yin-yang, 5 elements flying swords. The jade slips left by the owner of the Immortal Cave, Yang Chen, had read all of it and remembered it on the way back. Some things were worthy of Yang Chen using as reference. Before refining the sword embryo, Yang Chen chose to fuse all the 3rd grade fire seeds that was brought to him as gifts into the yin-yang heaven burning fire. But the absorption of enough 3rd grade fire seeds, the speed of absorbing and fusing 1st grade and 2nd grade fire seeds were now extremely fast and one could be completed in a few days. After removing the hundreds of fire seeds to fuse, it took Yang Chen 2 years. And as more fire seeds were absorbed, the yin-yang heaven burning fire was increasingly evolving in the perfect direction. The powerful yin-yang heaven burning fire blended these materials to form the sword embryo and laying the imprint of Yang Chen. This process was completed by Yang Chen and it was many times easier than the refining of the 1st wood and 2nd wood flying swords previously. It took only a short 2 years and a 4th fire flying sword embryo that looked very beautiful was freshly refined. The perfect fourth fire attribute, coupled with the carefully selected materials of the greatest heaven sect, has made this flying sword the perfect sword embryo. The reason why it was still a sword embryo was because the flying sword has not been tempered by Yang Chen for a long time. A series of follow-up work has not yet been completed, but it could now be used for combat. If it was bitten in the mouth of the Xiaotian, fourth fire flying sword could also cut off any opponent. It's rare to calm down and retreat for a long time. Yang Chen simply did not go out, but began to carefully study and practice the experience left in the medicinal gourd. Yang Chen, who has already collected enough common medicinal materials, has tried to use all kinds of medicinal materials, various kinds of fires, various fusions, various techniques, and his distracting efforts, with a profound spirit furnace, within a short period of 10 years. The jade slips in the medicinal gourd was thoroughly studied, and even the combination of single and two kinds of pills was tested once. Among the squares in the medicinal gourd, there were tens of thousands of medicinal residues. This was the most basic drug residue of Yang Chen's own refining, and it was also the result of Yang Chen's resolidification of his basic knowledge of alchemy. At this point, Yang Chen's shortcut on the path of alchemy has been filled, and it's no longer based on the experience of his past lives. But these solid basic knowledge, when Yang Chen tried to refine the second grade inner sensing pill, he felt more comfortable. Everything was under control, and any changes that occurred in the furnace was within his own expectations. Even if Yang Chen wanted to control which one was of high quality and which one was of low quality, it could be easily controlled. This kind of change, compared to Yang Chen's simple use of his knowledge of fire control to refine the medicinal pills, he did not know how many times higher than it was. This was the realm of alchemy master that Yang Chen wanted, rather than relying on the memories of previous life alchemy. When the old man of the previous life was always used up, he was now a complete alchemy master. The quality of the second grade pills refined were even more impressive. Yang Chen even has the feeling that if he started to refine the second grade questioning inner heart pill, it would be even more perfect. Of course, the second grade questioning inner heart pill would also be promoted to third grade under the role of the profound spirit furnace. Third grade questioning inner heart pill, if he was to pass it out, it would definitely make people crazy. This kind of medicinal pill, if he just took out one, it was worthy of making people do anything to obtain it. Now, Yang Chen was truly relying on his own alchemy strength to stand on the highest peak of alchemy in the mortal world. After more than 10 years of retreat, Yang Chen's spiritual power has been fully upgraded to the level of middle Jidan stage. It took a long time to promote all his spiritual power, otherwise he would reach it sooner. However, now his full spiritual power was condensed, his cultivation was faster. Yang Chen has a hunch, even if there was no external force and it was only through his own cultivation, he could enter the late Jidan stage in 30 years, then after 100 years, it would be enough for him to cross his tribulations and form his nascent soul. Now Yang Chen also has to consider the incident of him forming his nascent soul in advance. For his entire spiritual power, at least 6 kinds of spiritual powers were needed, and the 3 spirit power of the positive and negative 5 elements could be done. If it was the forming of a nascent soul, more demanding conditions were needed to be met. It's just that Yang Chen doesn't know what the concept of all his spiritual power forming nascent souls was and what would happen if he did it. Although the yin-yang 5 element secret art was powerful, but after all, it was only the legendary perfect cultivation method. Before Yang Chen, no one has ever successfully cultivated it. Yang Chen himself was the pioneer. What would happen, Yang Chen could only explore it by himself, everything was still unknown. However, one thing was certain, that was, once Yang Chen's entire attributes was successful in forming the nascent souls, then Yang Chen would definitely be the #1 cultivator in the Yuning stage, even if it was the masters in the PQning stage. They would not necessarily be able to compete with Yang Chen. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 406. Killing people to pick a quarrel. After refining 2 furnace of first grade, questioning inner heart pills and 2 furnace of second grade, questioning inner heart pills, Yang Chen finally went out. This retreat of Yang Chen took 15 years. When he was concentrating on his cultivation, he didn't feel the passage of time. Only when he was out of the cultivation state did he realize that such a long time has passed. The sect didn't seem to have changed by much, but the spirits and vigor on the faces of the sect's disciples seemed to be different, all of them were very proud. When he saw his master, he became happy again. In these years, Gao Yu has already prepared the dragon horns and started the refining work. Because the difficulty of refining was extremely high, this process would continue for at least decades. His master ancestor has also been helping and was very satisfied with Yang Chen's promotion. After encouraging him, he wanted Yang Chen to make persistent efforts. When the master of the palace met Yang Chen, he said a lot. The things happening in the sect and the things happening outside, as long as they were related to the Pure Yang Palace, he knew basically everything. In the past few years, the Pure Yang Palace has recruited thousands of highly qualified outer sect disciples. After undergoing repeated evaluations, most of the new students have been sent to the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal Cave. Judging from the current appearance of the Pure Yang Palace, the strength of the Pure Yang Palace has not improved a lot and it was developing step by step. The Wine Immortal House and Pure Yang Palace have now cooperated with each other. In some positions, the Pure Yang Palace has inserted their core disciples. Nowadays, major events and incidents outside the sect basically cannot escape the control of the Pure Yang Palace, and it was convenient for the Pure Yang Palace to adjust its external strategy at any time. However, these were hidden and they never let others know. The only thing that could be said to let outsiders know that their strength has risen was that the Pure Yang Palace held a ceremony for apprenticeship more than 10 years ago. At that ceremony, the Pure Yang Palace recruited hundreds of monster cultivators at one time to join their Hall of Eccentrics. Among the monster cultivators which joined, there were 12 Wielding stage masters, more than 80 Zhanxian stage masters, and the rest were all in the foundation stage. Although these forces were completely incomparable to those of the big sects, the sudden addition of 12 Wielding stage masters resulted in the doubling of the high-end strength of the Pure Yang Palace, which made people frequently watch them closely. And there was also good news, the Pure Yang Palace was equally secretive about. In the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal Cave, the strong ape King Huyun in the Daching stage, under the frequent contact between him and the old tree demon and Wang Yang. He was also from the beginning hostile to fraternity and finally under the temptation of the questioning inner heart pills, joined the Pure Yang Palace, becoming the third Daching stage master of the Pure Yang Palace. The three masters of the Daching stage, many things could be solved by the Pure Yang Palace. However, Huyun's joining, the Pure Yang Palace, did not announce it but let Huyun be a secret weapon. Huyun has recently reached a bottleneck in his spirit power cultivation and was stuck in the middle Daching stage. The Pure Yang Palace was not bad to him and he was sent one questioning inner heart pill directly, allowing Huyun to go into seclusion. At least in the past 10 years, it was estimated that Huyun would spend it in retreat. After all, Huyun was different from the masters of these large sect. He has always been confined to the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal Cave. He has not traveled. He couldn't compare with those masters in terms of vision and knowledge. Even with the help of the transformation secret art and the systematic cultivation method provided by the Pure Yang Palace, it took him several times more to cross his bottleneck than those of the other masters. When he completed the retreat, regardless of whether he was successful or not, the Pure Yang Palace would arrange for him to go out to gain experience and increase his knowledge. There were more and more core disciples. The hundreds of top-quality flying swords that Yang Chen brought back last time have also been distributed. It has increased the core disciples' combat effectiveness by a huge step. Now the Pure Yang Palace was also like those big sects. After consolidating their Zhanxian stage realm and becoming core disciples, it was necessary to begin to quenching their life source flying swords. Compared to the Wielding stage, no suitable magic weapon could be found as the life source flying sword. It was already the difference between heaven and earth. All the things happening in the Pure Yang Palace were good things. The sect was flourishing. No wonder the disciples were full of vitality. Prior to Yang Chen's retreat, some people were having ideas on him. In this regard, the Wine Immortal House spent a lot of effort to investigate. The idea came from the mouths of some high-ranking members of the Greatest Heaven sect, but it was supported by several people who practiced alchemy, such as the Pill Cauldron sect and several concocting pill sects and some rogue cultivators alchemy masters. This was purely a matter of blocking Yang Chen, and it was also a conspiracy to provoke greed and deliberate chaos. Maybe in the confusion, someone could really find a hint of Yang Chen's alchemy. By then, everyone was likely to make a profit. This technique seems to be clumsy, but it was very effective. The Pure Yang Palace has issued harsh wording notes to several ancestral sects. No matter what attitude they want to cope with, they should not be polite when it comes to the manipulators behind the scenes. But everyone was afraid of those masters who needed Yang Chen's alchemy, so they had to restrain themselves, at least on the surface. They had to stay on good terms with him and even call everything a misunderstanding. In this regard, Yang Chen was not surprised. Even if Yang Chen did not reach the 5th level, outsiders would have a lot of guesses. After all, the questioning inner heart pill was a good way to make people tempted. Moreover, to those people, Yang Chen didn't take them seriously. Were there few people who wanted Yang Chen's life these years? Alice Master Zhang Jiao was very nervous. He completely forgot that Yang Chen had brought back the corpse of the second city master. It seems that the positioning of Yang Chen in the mind of the head of the palace was also getting heavier, otherwise he wouldn't feel so. The Five-Element sect and Qianqin sect could be regarded as being fortunate because they had friendship with the Blue Cloud sect Green Jade Immortal Island. They were among the first batch to know that Yang Chen had become a 5th grade alchemy master, so their request was faster. The two major sects were seeking pills, questioning inner heart pills. During the 15 years of Yang Chen's retreat, another Dacheng stage master in the Green Jade Immortal Island also broke through after taking the questioning inner heart pill. In just 2 decades, 4 consecutive Dacheng stage masters have appeared because of the questioning inner heart pills, and the entire cultivation world was going completely crazy. Countless people wanted to get a questioning inner heart pill, but there was always a price and no market. No matter how high the price was, no one would sell it. The Five-Element sect and Qianqin sect simply wanted questioning inner heart pills at all costs. Both sects knew that if the Blue Cloud sect and Green Jade Immortal Island always occupied this advantage, it would not be a dream for them to surpass them comprehensively, but it was already becoming a reality. For this reason, the price that the two sects mentioned to the Pure Yang Palace almost made the master of the palace, who have been used to good things in recent years, a little dazed. Of course, the benefits of Yang Chen were indispensable, and Yang Chen's remuneration even surpassed those from the Blue Cloud sect and Green Jade Immortal Island. This was quite easy to understand. At first, the two sects were eager to show their loyalty, and at the same time, Yang Chen's status was also different than in the past. The fire seeds needed by Yang Chen were prepared by both sects, and even the duplicated parts were deliberately eliminated. It must be said that these large sects were very rich. In addition to providing the same number of fire seeds as the Blue Cloud sect and Green Jade Immortal Island, there were other things. The materials for alchemy were naturally prepared by themselves. In addition, everyone seems to know that Yang Chen liked to read miscellaneous books. They prepared 20,000 volumes of miscellaneous books and some rare medicinal materials. The most important reward was not in the material object, but rather their pledge to provide a favor. Both the Five-Element sect and Qianqin sect were willing to provide Yang Chen with a demanded opportunity. As long as Yang Chen spoke, without prejudice to the interests of the two sects could do one thing for Yang Chen unconditionally. This price was really staggering. Whether it was the Five-Element sect or the Qianqin sect, it was estimated that they needed just say one sentence to change the dynasties of the mortal world. In order to obtain questioning inner heart pills, the two sects also tried their best to win Yang Chen's favor. Of course, it doesn't matter to Yang Chen. Anyway, the Blue Cloud sect and Green Jade Immortal Island have all taken the lead. After decades, refining for the Five-Element sect and Qianqin sect was not a big deal. The key was to pull the two ancestral sects to the side of the Pure Yang Palace and at least to have them speak for Pure Yang Palace on key issues. It's just that the two sects have to discuss which one comes first. The master of the palace also asked Yang Chen what he thought about it. After thinking for a moment, Yang Chen suddenly smiled. Let me just make a furnace of refining first, let the two divide it equally, then I will make another furnace of pills after 25 years, and then they will divide it evenly, it's fine like this. This was the intention of many rogue cultivation masters. The two sects have great assets and naturally would not think of this. The palace master still has a headache for how to coordinate the relationship between the two parties. This was indeed a good idea that does not hurt and could benefit both parties. The two furnaces of questioning inner heart pills he refined before, Yang Chen simply gave it to the master of the palace. As long as the time comes, he only needs to take out one part and then take another part after 25 years. For Yang Chen, in the next 50 years, for the time being, he does not need to consider refining alchemy for others. Of course, Yang Chen's refining now has at least 30 questioning inner heart pills, and the two badge for the two sects were at most 20, equal to that of the Blue Cloud sect and Green Jade Immortal Island. Each sect would be given 2 second-grade questioning inner heart pills, which was also a balanced consideration. As for saying that the two sects paid more, this was also a matter they couldn't do anything about. Who made the two sect not optimistic about the Pure Yang Palace at first and did not cooperate with the Pure Yang Palace from the beginning? Who would have thought that the small Pure Yang Palace would develop so much in 100 years and they would have such a monstrous talent alchemist master? After the two major sects get the questioning inner heart pills, their strength would probably skyrocket in the short term. At that time, the faces of the high-level members of the Greatest Heaven sect would definitely not look good. They just didn't know that under the hesitation of the Greatest Heaven sect, they found that even the Five-Element sect and Qianqin sect has acquired questioning inner heart pills. Should they regret not having removed Yang Chen as soon as possible, or should they regret not cooperating with the Pure Yang Palace earlier? Yang Chen's goal was to make the martial arts sects that competed with the Greatest Heaven sect develop vigorously. Even when it was time to eliminate the Greatest Heaven sect, it would not be done by his sect alone. The other sects who have been oppressed by Greatest Heaven sect these years were not only the Pure Yang Palace. He thought it would be uneventful for the time being, but the appearance of Shang Yunfeng brought Yang Chen some bad news. But the support of Yang Chen and Scar, the 10,000 treasure tower hosted by Shang Yunfeng in the Thousand Autumn Pavilion was also booming. Now several semi-branches have been opened. The business has not only achieved control in the 100,000 mountains, but also in several famous markets. There were also 10,000 treasure tower branches. Shang Yunfeng came to Yang Chen and told Yang Chen that he had just received news. 10,000 treasure tower opened a branch in the South China Sea. Someone had uprooted it some time ago, and today he got the news. Knowing that Yang Chen was out of seclusion, Shang Yunfeng didn't dare to specialize, so he hurried to tell Yang Chen. Is there something wrong with our people? Yang Chen frowned, but still asked about the people in charge over there if they were injured. They were both disciples of the Pure Yang Palace. Generally, when they felt that they have no hope in cultivation, then they would switch to business. They also look forward to leaving some wealth to their descendants. They are all gone. Shang Yunfeng's eyes were bloodshot. He also knew that some small property would not be placed in Yang Chen's heart, but things were cruel. He could only tell the truth. The people and goods are gone. Those people have no plans to keep them alive. Southern Sea. Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Yang Chen chewed these two words and asked after a while who did it. It is a casual rogue cultivator alliance that is called Hidden Dragon Cave. Shang Yunfeng replied with his teeth gritted. In the news from the Wine Immortal house, the people in the Hidden Dragon Cave saw a few magic weapons and they did not buy it after arguing with others, so they destroyed 10,000 treasure tower to vent their anger. As he said, Shang Yunfeng slammed the wall with a punch. The people I spent decades training, the smallest buddy, also said that he wanted to buy a good flying sword for his son. His son has better aptitude than him and is already a disciple valued by the sect. During the talk, Shang Yunfeng almost shed tears. It's only been 10 years and they are gone. Shang Yunfeng got along with those guys and their relationship was really unusual. Hearing bad news was also very sad. Hidden Dragon Cave. Yang Chen's voice added a bit of coldness. The name of the Hidden Dragon Cave was no stranger to Yang Chen. In the memory of his previous lives, the Hidden Dragon Cave was actually a peripheral organization of the Greatest Heaven sect. It was secretive and does the things that were not convenient for the Greatest Heaven sect to do themselves. These guys were fierce and have left only a few living witnesses. They were also an arrogant alliance in the South China Sea. Although their scale was not the largest, no one was willing to provoke it. Even if the people in the Hidden Dragon Cave didn't attack him, Yang Chen won't make the people in the Hidden Dragon Cave feel better. What's more, now that the people in the Hidden Dragon Cave dare to touch the disciples of the Pure Yang Palace. How could Yang Chen miss the opportunity that was delivered to his door? It was revenge and resentment. At the same time, it also cut off the outer arms of the Greatest Heaven sect, weakening the power of Greatest Heaven sect, which was killing two birds with one stone. I'll take a trip by myself. Yang Chen has been in seclusion and he hasn't been out for a long time, he would just take this opportunity to go out and cultivate. Moreover, this kind of thing that was the beheading of the Greatest Heaven sect's minions, Yang Chen, would never use other people to complete the task. He had to do it himself to make it more vivid and satisfying. Yang Chen's tone and content of speech sounded extremely calm. However, after doing business for hundreds of years, Shang Yunfeng, who has just been promoted to the Jidan stage, has long been accustomed to watching. Yang Chen seemed calm, but there was a slow exudation of a killing aura from the inside. Even Shang Yunfeng, who was close to Yang Chen, could not help fighting a cold war. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 407. Killing. The Hidden Dragon Cave was located overseas, a long distance from the domain of the Dao sects. At the speed of Yang Chen, it would take him almost half a year to arrive there. When Yang Chen was chased and killed by Greatest Heaven sect in his previous life, he had been hiding there for a long time in the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, and he was very familiar with it. It was also at that time that Yang Chen knew about the inside and backstage of Hidden Dragon Cave during an accidental pursuit and knew their relationship with the Greatest Heaven sect. Now that Yang Chen hasn't had time to free his hand to find them to settle accounts, they have already stretched their claws to the doorsteps of the Pure Yang Palace. The new hatred and the old hate were intolerable, how could he bear it? However, one point in Yang Chen's understanding was that the Dao sect's influence was small and poor on the side of the Rogue Cultivators Alliance. Otherwise, Yang Chen would not have been hiding there for hundreds of years. If Yang Chen wanted to rely on the influence of the Pure Yang Palace to reason over there, it was absolutely impossible. Of course, Yang Chen never intended to reason with the Hidden Dragon Cave or the Greatest Heaven sect, who always looked at the sky. Moreover, the Hidden Dragon Cave has never said that it has anything to do with the Greatest Heaven sect. It was also the people at the Hidden Dragon Cave that have nothing to do with the Greatest Heaven sect. At the beginning, Yang Chen planned to kill them himself, but the hidden dragon cave was not small. Yang Chen alone was not necessarily able to take good care of it by himself. Therefore, Yang Chen directly found Shikui and Xia. "I'm going to kill, will you go?" Yang Chen asked directly, facing the two strange-looking people. "We will go. Why won't we go?" Shikui and Xia were cultivating. After hearing Yang Chen's words, their eyes lit up suddenly. Killing with Yang Chen not only kills every time, but also releases the wildness of Shikui and Xia, and there are no future problems. How could two guys let this good thing go? "Would you like more helpers?" Xia agreed first, then asked immediately. "Other helpers?" Yang Chen was stunned. When he killed, he liked to bring Shikui and Xia. At most, he brought the old tree demon and other helpers. Yang Chen didn't think of anyone for a while. The 8 new Wielding stage masters who joined the Hall of Eccentrics. "They are nervous after being idle for a long time, take them with us if necessary," Xia explained. He said that the 8 Wielding stage masters were the monster cultivators who the palace masters conquered from the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal Cave. In the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal Cave, they could only fight with each other to relieve boredom. They were indeed as anxious as Xia said. Of course, Yang Chen doesn't think there were many helpers. These guys were fierce men who could kill and not blink. Since they wanted to kill people in the Hidden Dragon Cave, it was natural that the more helpers, the better. "Okay, ask if they would like to go together." Yang Chen was also very easy to do things. These masters of Wielding stage have vowed and have seen the hope of promotion in the Pure Yang Palace. They were definitely loyal, so he was not suspicious. As a result, Yang Chen, Shikui and Xia, the 3 men took turns appearing in front of several other Wielding stage masters in the hall. Every time he appeared in front of a master, Yang Chen seemed to ask the same words. "We are going to kill, will you go?" Maybe they already heard that Shikui and Xia said that they were following Yang Chen went out to kill and set fire to their hearts. The several newly promoted Wielding stage masters didn't even have one objection. This movement was too big, which directly aroused the attention of the hallmaster, the old tree demon Shanyu. At the beginning, the old tree demon who followed Yang Chen to kill before, heard that Yang Chen was actually going out again, he could not help itching. "Need help?" The old tree demon acted very directly and asked very directly. He appeared in front of Yang Chen and asked the sentence. "If you want to come." Of course, the more masters of this kind, the better. Yang Chen didn't mind the Pure Yang Palace coming out in full strength, but it was impossible at this time. The old tree demon was willing to help, Yang Chen certainly was happy. Shanyu was now a hallmaster, and he was also an elder of the Pure Yang Palace. Of course, it was impossible to leave at will, but this does not prevent his old man's avatar from going out with Yang Chen. This was done once or twice before and both were very familiar with it. "I brought a new friend." The old tree demon was not alone. Everyone knew that following Yang Chen to go out to kill was a good chance to not have to worry about someone looking for a post account, of course it was to all gain experience. So they could take care of a few more experts. The friend mentioned by the old tree demon referred to the Daching stage master Huyun, who was new to Pure Yang Palace, but kept a secret. This monster cultivator who has been training for thousands of years in the Blue Vault Mountain Immortal Cave has also not practiced outside for a long time and has been practicing in a dull way. This opportunity to go out was just right for him. Yang Chen was so happy, he thought it would be nice to be able to pull up Shikui and Xia. Who knew that there would be 2 more Daching stage and 8 Wielding stage masters to come along. This lineup, especially the old tree demon and Huyun, not to mention to deal with the Hidden Dragon Cave, even if it was facing the top masters of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, they may not fall behind. Others didn't know the power of the old tree demon, but how could Yang Chen not know it? Being able to continuously suppress the yin fire tribulation more than 10 times, it was not easy to say that masters in the middle Daching stage could do it, and the old tree demon had already done it easily at the peak Yuaning stage. For a guy like Scarface, he did not put up the slightest fight back against the old tree demon. If it was that the old tree demon has devoured a whole Penglide divine wood, he believed that the old tree demon now could definitely compete with the guy who reached the peak stage in the middle stage. The old tree demon was already so powerful, but Huyun could fight with the old tree demon and the ancestor Wang Yong, how powerful would he be? But so many experts to help, Yang Chen was confident of pulling out the Hidden Dragon Cave completely. The chess piece arranged by Greatest Heaven Sect overseas has already been destined to perish. It was easy to go out with only Shikui and Xia, but it was not a trivial matter to travel with so many masters at one time and to go to the overseas Rogue Cultivator Alliance where the distant Dao Sect's forces could cover, so he informed the elders. In fact, Yang Chen hadn't asked for instructions from the master of the palace. The master of the palace already knew what happened to Yang Chen. Now Yang Chen was the treasure of the Pure Yang Palace. It was not known how many people were paying attention to his every move. This was especially true of the master of the palace. So when Yang Chen appeared in front of the master of the palace with a few masters, he the lord of the palace was not surprised at all. It's okay to go out and practice. As soon as Palace Master Zhang Jiao spoke, Yang Chen's private behavior was put under the guise of the sect. Masters of the sect should also walk around and see the world. Since this matter was now defined as the sect's experts going out to gain experience, then it was not as simple as Yang Chen going out and provoking Hidden Dragon Cave alone. Every move of Yang Chen has been linked to the sect's decision-making. So daring to target Yang Chen was also directly going against the Pure Yang Palace. At this moment, Yang Chen felt the love of the sect again. In this regard, Yang Chen did not pretend and naturally accepted the sect's kindness. Before setting off, Yang Chen met Elder Huyun, who was brought by the old tree demon. Starting from knowing the name Huyun, this was the first time Yang Chen had met Huyun. Huyun, who cultivated the transformation secret art, transformed into a sturdy man of the same size as Yang Chen's body and revealed an unusually powerful aura all over his body. In addition to his sturdy figure, Huyun's face was also densely covered with hair, just like an ordinary person with hirsutism. He didn't wear any robe armor, just an ordinary cotton robe, which made him look like a big farmer. If he didn't know the details of Huyun, even if it was Yang Chen, the first time he saw Huyun, he would certainly think that it was an ordinary farmer, not a master of the Daching stage. As soon as he saw Yang Chen, without waiting for the introduction of the old tree demon, he walked up to the opposite side of Yang Chen, looked up and down, and stretched out his hands, and patted it twice on Yang Chen's shoulder and laughed. Yang Chen, okay, you already look like a practitioner. Huyun's words caused a few inconsistencies in the surrounding Yuaning monster cultivators. At the Yuaning level, everyone has practiced transformational secret arts and become human beings, but at most it was to maintain their physical fitness, which was completely different from Yang Chen's stout practice of body refining cultivation method. It was estimated that this matched Huyun's appetite. Thus this one action, in a word, surprised everyone except the old tree demon Shikui and Xiasha. Everyone was a master, they have all learned how powerful Huyun was. Don't look at his two pats on Yang Chen that seem intimate and casual, but everyone knew how powerful Huyun was. Those two pats, the idle monster masters, could be easily shot to the ground by it. At least half of the Yuaning stage masters present were softened by Huyun's intimate action. After all, Huyun's body was of a mighty ape king, born with divine power. Even it was powerful guys such as Shikui and Xiasha, in the face of Huyun's random pats, they had to put up a full resistance and use their formidable monster race physique to be able to withstand it. Seeing Yang Chen standing in place, he didn't even change his expression. He took Huyun's two pats so lightly, and they couldn't see any signs of Yang Chen's use of spiritual power. Astonished, everyone took a moment to glance at Yang Chen again. As Yuanyuan masters who hasn't had much contact with Yang Chen and doesn't know much about Yang Chen, they thought what they heard were all hearsay. But looking at Huyun's two pats, their views on Yang Chen changed a little. As for Huyun himself, he was even more surprised. He did not expect that Yang Chen, a small junior in the Jidan stage, could take his two pats so calmly. Although Huyun was afraid of hurting Yang Chen in the first pat, so he held back, but when he saw Yang Chen being so relaxed, the second shot was a firm use of his physical strength. The power of that shot was not only a pat, but it was 100,000 jin. If it was an ordinary Yuaning stage master, it was estimated that he has to make every effort to mobilize his whole body's spiritual power and monster power in order to make himself stand. Even with such a huge power, Yang Chen stood still and didn't move a bit. Even after a while, Huyun couldn't help but look at this younger generation in a new light. He only knew that Yang Chen was capable from the old tree demon's mouth, but he still had some disapproval in his mind. How powerful was a descendant in the Jidan stage? Under the two pats, Huyun's contempt flew away without any trace. He thought that Yang Chen was only good at alchemy, so he should be worthless in cultivation. However, when standing in place, he didn't even use spiritual power, but relied on his physical strength to take his two pats. But this move alone, Huyun knew that if they had to fight, perhaps these masters in the Yuaning stage here could not be Yang Chen's opponent. As a master of the Daching stage, and a master who has been practicing for thousands of years, how rich his experience was, in a flash, Huyun replaced with a laughing face and praised him again and again. It seemed that Yang Chen was an interesting disciple, and he was not uncomfortable to follow him out. Didn't he see that even masters like the old tree demon couldn't help sending out his avatar? Before traveling, Yang Chen went to say goodbye to his master. Gao Yu was now refining the dragon horn flying sword. Within 100 years, she does not have to think about leaving the Pure Yang Palace. This was also good, at least her security could be absolutely guaranteed. There was Gongsun Ling, she was waiting for Gao Yu. Yang Chen was going out and she has been back for a few days, naturally she has to follow. I am going to kill, will you go? Gongsun was no exception. After saying goodbye to his master, he went to Gongsun and asked this question casually. "I will go." Gongsun looked at Yang Chen with a smile and answered. Going out with Yang Chen to do the same thing that made her feel like a husband and a wife, which was very sweet. On the other side of the South China Sea, Gongsun hasn't been to it yet. Taking this opportunity, she could also add the South China Sea to the mountain river geographical map, killing two birds with one stone. Adding up to 14 people, except for Yang Chen and Gongsun who were both in the Jidan stage, the others were either Yuaning or Daching stage masters. They were all seniors. Yang Chen was naturally not going to take everyone to the Dome Hall, so everyone all boarded the ship of Gongsun and flew towards the South China Sea. After reaching the sea, the water-dividing fins were blessed on both sides of the ship and the speed suddenly doubled. However, they were still a few months away from the site of the South China Sea's Rogue Cultivator Alliance, and everyone was on the boat and cultivating separately. Of course, Yang Chen didn't hesitate to produce enough jade dragon wine for everyone. Gongsun elaborate cuisine made even the dry tongue of the monster cultivators watery. Along the way, everyone was very happy while eating and drinking. While rushing, Yang Chen was also wondering how to get started with Hidden Dragon Cave so that others could not say anything. Even if it was the greatest heaven sect, it could only eat this dumb loss, but could not find Yang Chen to settle accounts. All of this requires a reputation. Even if Yang Chen kills the people in the Hidden Dragon Cave by hand, no one would stand on the side of the Hidden Dragon Cave morally. Of course, the 10,000 treasure tower shop was destroyed and all the shopkeepers in the shop were killed. This was a good reason. It's just that these were not enough. Yang Chen, who had escaped from Greatest Heaven sect for more than 100 years, knew that if he wanted to do it thoroughly, at least he should let the people in the Rogue Cultivator Alliance stand on his side. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 408. This is poison not sickness. The Rogue Cultivator Alliance on the South China Sea was located on a large archipelago in the middle of the South China Sea. It was very far away from the Dao sect's domain and there were many surrounding islands. There were many places suitable for cultivators to cultivate even under the sea. This was why the Dao sects cannot exert influence here. The road was far away and the masters cannot attack this nest and disregard the safety of their nest, but a few masters cannot guarantee that they could completely control the place and this has become a paradise for rogue cultivators. The biggest forces here were several rogue cultivators alliances and the Hidden Dragon Cave was one of them. Hidden Dragon Cave occupies dozens of relatively small islands, it united hundreds of people and became a small rogue cultivator alliance among several forces. The most powerful master of the Hidden Dragon Cave was the cave master in the Yuaning stage, he was extremely fierce. In this rogue cultivator domain, he also had a famous reputation and most people don't dare to offend him easily. Yang Chen and his party came all the way, but did not directly find the Hidden Dragon Cave, but found the largest rogue cultivator alliance which was the South China Sea Alliance. The South China Sea Alliance was simply the emperor of the South China Sea, even more arrogant than the Greatest Heaven sect in the Dao sect's domain. In the first place, the strength of the South China Sea Alliance was indeed shocking. They had the background of the 4 Daching stage masters, occupied hundreds of islands with the most abundant resources, and tens of thousands of disciples in the alliance. It was just that the South China Sea Alliance did not announce the establishment of an ancestral sect but mainly focused on absorbing rogue cultivators. However, although the South China Sea Alliance was domineering but paid attention to rules, which was one of the reasons why Yang Chen came here to find the South China Sea Alliance directly. Of course, another important reason was that almost all the development of the South China Sea Alliance over the next few hundred years was in the mind of Yang Chen. Right now there was one thing that could be used by Yang Chen. The only person who appeared outside the gate of the South China Sea Alliance was Yang Chen. The others and Gongsun took a rest on the ship. The arrival of a master did not attract anyone's attention. Only 2 appearances, Yang Chen and Gongsun appeared in the South China Sea. The 2 descendants of the Jidan stage were not enough to make anyone vigilant. Who are you? For what purpose have you come here? As soon as Yang Chen was close to 50 feet away from the gate of the South China Sea Alliance, someone screamed. It couldn't be helped, but said that the South China Sea Alliance does have hegemonic capital. Even the guards at the door, the 2 masters of the Jidan stage and a dozen disciples in the Foundation stage, almost did not give up more face than those major sects. My humble self is Yang Chen, I am the proprietor of the 10,000 treasure tower and came to visit the Union Master Gan specially. However, Yang Chen did not say his identity from the Puryang Palace, but came to see him as the owner of the 10,000 treasure tower. Gan Shuren was the leader of the South China Sea Alliance, though it was only the confession on the surface. The real masters behind the scenes were masters in the daching stage, but they have been concentrating on their cultivation and were unwilling to manage these common things. Yang Chen, the owner of 10,000 Treasure Tower. I haven't heard of it. When they saw Yang Chen's courtesy, the two masters in charge at the gate looked at each other and saw the strangeness in each other's eyes. Then one of them impatiently waved and shouted, "You cannot see the leader. Quickly retreat." The eyes of the several people were so high that they could look down on a guy who they have never heard of. Had it not been for Yang Chen's courtesy, he might have been thrown out earlier. Regarding this, Yang Chen was not surprised at all. It was not difficult to join the South China Sea Alliance, but it was not so easy to meet the leaders of the South China Sea Alliance. Zhanxian and several other senior executives have been troubled by one thing for a long time. Unless it was a major event or a big expert who was related to the alliance, they would not easily come forward. "Please, can you report something for me?" Although Yang Chen was harshly scolded. But there was no slight change on his face, and he still said to the goalkeepers on the opposite side with respect, "I know a little bit about the ancient medical techniques, maybe I can help the leader and elders to solve some problems." Zhanxian's biological son suddenly suffered from a strange disease 200 years ago. His whole body was weak, and it was all thanks to Zhanxian and several other elders who took turns in daily input of spiritual power into him to be able to continue his life. This son was the heart of Zhanxian, but also the heart of other elder brothers who were also elders. When he grew up, he was originally qualified, but unexpectedly he became inexplicable after going out to the sea once. In this way, Zhanxian and several brothers exhausted their life to save him. Many of these people in the alliance were not very clear about it. Yang Chen also learned about these secrets after having escaped to the South China Sea Alliance after 100 years. But at that time, the South China Sea Alliance was on the verge of falling apart and Yang Chen could no longer be sheltered. Now that Yang Chen said that he knew some of the ancient medical techniques, the two masters in the Jidan stage, the gatekeepers, started to mumble. There has been a rumor in the alliance about what physicians the leader needs. What does Yang Chen mean by this? If they didn't report it, they were afraid of angering the leader. However, if they reported and the leader was to ignore it, they would be unwilling to bother the leader without cause. Yang Chen also saw the hesitation of the two masters in the Jidan stage and smiled and said, "It is not necessary to report to the alliance master, but any elder on duty can do it. Just a few hard-working trips, there will be thanks. As he talked, Yang Chen took out a mid-grade spirit stone, which looked like he had a pound or two, and passed it over easily. If he let others run errands, naturally they could not run for nothing. But this piece of middle-grade spirit stone, plus Yang Chen just said to tell the elder on duty instead of the leader, it immediately made the two masters in the Jidan stage no longer under pressure. They looked at each other, one of them quickly nodded. "You wait here." Then turned and left. After the time to drink a cup of tea, the Jidan stage master who went quickly hurried back. After making a strange glance at Yang Chen, then he slightly bowed and made a please gesture and said loudly, "Please come with me, please." It took a while to become a distinguished guest. It must have surprised the Jidan stage master. He had never heard of Yang Chen, how did he know that the alliance needed a doctor? Yang Chen didn't have the slightest pressure and followed the Jidan casually to enter the South China Sea Alliance. Even if the elder on duty was also not the brother of Zhanxian, how could he not know the current plight of the South China Sea Alliance? "Are you a doctor?" In the guest hall, Yang Chen met the elder on duty. What made Yang Chen strange was that the elder turned out to be a woman. For a moment, Yang Chen thought of the identity of the elder Zhanxian's wife, Xu Langqiu. Speaking of which, Xu Langqiu was the person who cares the most because she was the sick Bianyong's mother. Even Zhanxian did not have Xu Langqiu's condition as tight as Bianyong. When she heard Yang Chen said that he was a doctor and sounded very confident, he was immediately brought in. "Greetings, Elder Xu." Yang Chen didn't directly answer Xu Langqiu's question, but bowed and saluted first, then straightened up and said loudly, "Yang Chen, this young man, is the proprietor of the 10,000 Treasure Tower and a little bit knowledgeable about it." 10,000 Treasure Tower? Xu Langqiu looked at Yang Chen and sneered suddenly. 10,000 Treasure Tower has been bossy in my South China Sea and has been wiped out by Hidden Dragon Cave. Why are you here? Naturally, I want justice for my 10,000 Treasure Tower storekeeper and waiter. Yang Chen sneered at Xu Langqiu without any fear and directly stated his purpose. "No matter which sect you come from, I would advise you that the South China Sea is not where you can meddle in, where you come from, or where you go back honestly," Xu Langqiu said lightly. Originally, she was disdainful of meeting a Jidan stage junior, but since it was a matter involving Bianyong, she naturally has to pay more attention. Just by looking at Xu Langqiu for a while, she knew the name of the 10,000 Treasure Tower, shows how effective the South China Sea Alliance was in controlling the area. Even the excuse that the 10,000 Treasure Tower was destroyed by Hidden Dragon Cave was known to them. Is my 10,000 treasure tower really bossing the marketplace? The elder knows the truth in her heart. Yang Chen didn't talk back, he just said something. Under the guise of cleverly grabbing things, if the elders of the South China Sea Alliance couldn't see what's tricky in it, they were really too substandard. A strong dragon does not press the ground snake, no wonder others are there. Shu Langqiu smiled slightly and said nothing. Everyone's unspoken things were meaningless when they were broken. These were all chores. Shu Langqiu cared about whether Yang Chen could really heal Bianyong, so she immediately changed the topic. Mister said that you are skilled in ancient medical techniques, but is that the truth? I don't dare say that I'm skilled, I only know a little or two. Yang Chen once again humbled himself. He knew that Shu Langqiu would definitely bring the matter up. I have a patient in the South China Sea Alliance. I have never heard of it being spread outside, but how did you know that, sir? Shu Langqiu listened to Yang Chen's words, but her face slowly changed and her speech volume increased, she became a little more skeptical. Bianyong was seriously ill because of an injury. After the injury was cured, the root cause of the disease fell, no matter what kind of elixir was used, it would not help. In the South China Sea Alliance, it was only known by a few high-level officials and has been secretive, but Yang Chen could know it and it was very questionable. This junior is slightly familiar with the ancient medical techniques. A few years ago, it was by chance I had seen the sight of the Union Master Bian from far away. Yang Chen's words, with a sense that made people feel scared, said at that time, the sight of the Union Master Bian complexion did not seem very good. So what? Shu Langqiu's face became more and more gloomy. What was the relationship between seeing her husband a few years ago and finding a patient? Does it mean that you are sick if you look bad? At that time, it seemed that the Union Master Bian Master had some slight illness. Yang Chen, however, no matter how dark Shu Langqiu's face became, he continued slowly, I was not sure at first, but after seeing the elder, I became more and more proficient and sure. A few years ago, he saw the face of the Union Master Bian and suspected that he was ill. Now he saw the Union Master Bian's wife. It was becoming more and more certain that the Union Master wife was also sick, how could this not make Shu Langqiu furious? Dare I ask, mister, have you come to provoke me and the South China Sea Alliance? Shu Langqiu was furious and she stood up and slapped at the table. This junior's eyes can't be mistaken. Yang Chen sat aside unmoved. Although Shu Langqiu looked angry, she was still calling him mister, which had explained a lot of problems. This little trick has not been placed in Yang Chen's eyes. Mister really thinks that my husband and me also have some illness. Shu Langqiu saw Yang Chen's brazen appearance and she believed him a little. Could it be that Bianyong's illness was contaminated by herself and her husband, so was it how Yang Chen had seen it? Union Master Bian and elder issues are still a trivial matter. I am afraid that the people who are really sick are not for a day or two. Yang Chen slowly shook his head and said this. As soon as this word came out, Shu Langqiu's heart became a little bit more hopeful. Bianyong has been sick for hundreds of years and the couple have tried their best to help him. They could only maintain their vitality by relying on the help of a few intimate brothers daily. Yang Chen judged that there was a patient just by looking at herself and Bian Shuren. This eyesight was really amazing, maybe he could really heal Bianyong's pain. It's true, there is a patient. Of course Shu Langqiu would not easily let go of the life-saving straw. Since Yang Chen saw it, she immediately took advantage of the opportunity and admitted that there was a patient. Presumably it is a close person to the Union Master Bian and elder. Yang Chen also did not have the joy of guessing and said something lightly. The man who is said to be seriously ill is my son. At this moment, Shu Langqiu no longer needed to conceal and quickly acknowledged but immediately asked. Sir, my son has been experiencing weakness and loss of appetite, drowsiness, what illness is it? I haven't seen the patient, so this junior can't speak irresponsibly. Yang Chen didn't answer but replied lightly. Shu Langqiu also scolded herself for being overzealous. If it was a common disease, a disease that could be diagnosed and treated by others as soon as it was said, how could it only be delayed for hundreds of years without being cured, but she anxiously asked this question. Sorry for being irrational. Shu Langqiu stood up, making a respectful gesture to Yang Chen. Please I ask mister to come and treat the child. Soon, the two went to Bianyong's room. In addition to Bianyong, who was struggling with a sick bed, there was a big man with eyes like electricity, staring at Yang Chen for a while. Had it not been for Shu Langqiu who brought in Yang Chen, perhaps this big man would have attacked him immediately. Mister, please begin to diagnose. Shu Langqiu asked Yang Chen once again. Yang Chen sat in front of the patient's bed with great caution, then glanced at the patient's eyes, looked at the tongue coating, and diagnosed the veins on both wrists and even palpated the patient, and then he frowned. How is it? Shu Langqiu asked nervously. As a mother, she was more anxious than anyone. This is not a disease, Yang Chen said with certainty, this is a rare poison. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 409. Hidden Dragon Cave. Poisoning. Not only Shu Lankyu, but even the big man who had been listening screamed loudly. No way, the news was so shocking that they could not accept it. For hundreds of years, everyone did not know how many doctors had been secretly found, whether they were from the secular or the cultivation world, all thought it was a rare disease and could not be treated. As soon as Yang Chen came here, he said that he was poisoned with a rare poison. My son is really poisoned. The guy whispered again, and at the same time he waved his hand, wrapping up the entire room where the sickbed was located with several restrictions, so no one would hear it. It's poisoning. Yang Chen nodded heavily while sighing and said with certainty. I'm sure this is poisoning, Union Master Bian. The other person called the patient my son, naturally it was Bian Shuren himself, not to mention that Yang Chen had claimed to have seen Bian Shuren before, so he was not too blind to call out the alliance leader. But poison. As soon as Bian Shuren heard that Yang Chen was determined it was poison, he suddenly became a different person, and his murderous aura covered his body as their cure. Shu Lankyu beside them was already crying with joy, for the first time in many years, someone gave a diagnosis with certainty. Whether it was illness or poisoning, there was always a direction to follow. Young master's poison is not a big problem, at most it makes people feel weak and lethargic. It will not be fatal for a while. Yang Chen said slowly, while organizing his own words. If it's you too, it might be a little bit troublesome. What do you mean? Bian Shuren's face changed for a while, his son became like this, and Yang Chen said that it was alright. Instead, he and his wife, two masters of the Wielding stage, had something wrong with them. What was it? Yang Chen didn't answer right away, but sniffed around for a long time, and his tightly frowning brows didn't go away. This action made Bian Shuren and his wife inexplicable. They didn't know what happened, but nobody dared to disturb Yang Chen. After a long while, Yang Chen looked puzzled and frowned. This shouldn't be. What shouldn't be? Shu Lankyu asked puzzledly. She now cares about her son and her husband, and it also involves herself, so she was anxious. The poison of your son is unique, and it is easy to solve. Yang Chen explained patiently, it is just that this younger generation has never figured out how the two seniors were poisoned. We are also poisoned. Bian Shuren and Shu Lankyu were surprised for a while. How could that be? So far, they haven't had any abnormal feelings. How could they be said to be poisoned? This junior knows that seniors don't believe it. Yang Chen said frankly, without going around in circle, and quickly made his request. I also asked the seniors to find a live fire dragon fish, and you would know at a glance. It's already at sea here, and it's not unusual to get a live fire dragon fish. Although it was a nourishing sacred product in the earthly world, it was just an ordinary thing in the South China Sea Alliance. Soon, a large tub was brought to Yang Chen with the sea fish. After the restrictions were still set, Yang Chen got up and started to grab the fire dragon fish, took out a jade bowl, and stabbed the fire dragon fish body with a knife, and after a while, accumulated a small bowl of fire dragon fish blood. I also asked the predecessor to get her hands dirty, so as to get a little bit of your son's blood. Yang Chen was also polite and directly ordered Shu Lankyu. Seeing the mystery of Yang Chen, Shu Lankyu and Bian Shuren were also a little frightened. Shu Lankyu glanced at her husband, and Bian Shuren nodded slightly, and then Shu Lankyu went to the bed. She gently struck on the veins of Bian Yong's wrist, squeezed a little blood dripping into a jade cup, and then quickly repaired the small wound with spiritual power. After Shu Lankyu did all of this, Yang Chen started to make 4 portions of fire dragon fish blood, divided it into 4 small jade bowls, then picked up the jade cup and put a few drops of blood from Bian Yong and slowly poured into the blood of one of the fire dragon fish. Alas, a horrifying sound came out suddenly. As soon as the two bloods came into contact, white smoke erupted and snored. It took a while to stop. When it calmed down, the red blood in the jade bowl has also become a weird liquid, which was actually dark purple. Yang Chen scooped down the gill slices from the fire dragon fish head and threw them into the small jade bowl. There was another snoring sound, and the gill slices began to slowly dissolve in the purple liquid. It was almost unnecessary for Yang Chen to say anything more. Both Bian Shuren and Shu Lankyu took a breath of cold air. The blood turned out to be something that could erode bones, its toxicity was conceivable. Immediately after, Yang Chen cut a hole in his hand and dropped it into the second jade bowl. The two kinds of blood were mixed for a long time, there was no movement, they were still so red, and there was no change. Immediately, Yang Chen pushed the remaining 2 jade bowls in front of Bian Shuren and Shu Lankyu and made a gesture of please. Obviously, this was Yang Chen asking them to try with their blood. The two did not hesitate to cut through the blood vessels to squeeze out a few drops of blood, which were dropped into the fire dragon fish blood. There were sounds and white smoke, but they were not violent. Compared with Bian Yong's blood, the blood reaction of the two was very slight. However, after a while, the red fire dragon fish blood in the jade bowl turned into lavender. At this moment, the faces of Yan Shuren and Shu Langqiu suddenly became ugly, they were poisoned without even realizing it, which was incredible. They couldn't believe everything happening in front of them. There was no response from Yang Chen's blood, but all three of Yan Shuren's family responded. Needless to say, there must be something wrong here. If the two seniors don't believe it, take a closer look at the blood of the two seniors. Some of them are already purple. Yang Chen sighed and said slowly. The couple Yan Shuren was even more frightened. They desperately made a few drops of blood again and dropped them into the white jade bowl, and they looked carefully. At a glance, the faces of the two changed again. In their red blood, there was a little bit of light purple, which was very rare. If it was not that both were cultivators and their eyesight would be greatly increased and they would be reminded by Yang Chen and the contrast in the white jade bowl would be sharp, they really couldn't find it in a short period. This has fully demonstrated that the two couples, Yan Shuren and Shu Langqiu, had been poisoned without even realizing it and the two were unaware of it. The poison in the young master was not a deadly poison, but once it comes into contact with something in the fire dragon fish blood, it will become very poisonous, Yang Chen explained slowly. In fact, Yang Chen didn't say too much and Yan Shuren and Shu Langqiu both understood what was going on. The demonstration just now has explained everything. The two seniors have been taking good care of the young master. The poisonous gas in the young master's body has accumulated over the years and they have also entered the bodies of you two. Yang Chen continued his judgment. This younger generation has never heard of them smelling like fire dragon fish blood, so I don't understand how the two seniors were poisoned. Seeing Yang Chen's confusion, Yan Shuren and Shu Langqiu glanced at each other suddenly and said, supplementing spirit soup. Supplementing spirit soup. What is it? Yang Chen suddenly felt as if he had found the answer and asked eagerly. This supplementing spirit soup, as the name suggests, is used to nourish the spiritual awareness. Shu Langqiu explained heavily to Yang Chen. Every day after sending spiritual power, I am always exhausted. You have to drink some of this supplementing spirit soup. To make this supplementing spirit soup, fire dragon fish is used. Just in an instant, all three understood everything. Bian Yong was poisoned. After the Union Master Bian and other elders work hard to replenish Bian Yong's spiritual power every day, they would drink the supplementing spirit soup made from the fire dragon fish. They were only in face-to-face contact with Bian Yong. The poisonous gas attack was almost negligible. After the soup was boiled, some ingredients in the fire dragon fish blood were also negligible. Maybe 2 meals don't matter, but after hundreds of years of accumulation, both of them have been unknowingly exposed to this strange poison. The ruthless part was that this poison had almost no effect in the early stage. This could be seen by Yan Shuren and Shu Langqiu who haven't noticed the abnormality. If they wait until deep in age, who knows what would happen. Not good. Yang Chen suddenly remembered something and hurriedly reminded them did other elders of the South China Sea Alliance also spend spiritual power for the young master and drink the supplementing spirit soup. Not good. Yan Shuren was reminded by Yang Chen and was also shocked. In the past 100 years, each elder has spent spiritual power for Bian Yong, and even several Daching stage elders were no exception. Almost every individual drank some of the supplementing spirit soup, and the person that poisoned Bian Yong must have figured this out before making such an arrangement. Although it was not known who arranged such poisoning schemes, it was very obvious to target the South China Sea Alliance. This has almost wiped out the top leaders of the South China Sea Alliance. As long as the time arrives, even the enemy's hands were not required, the top leaders of the South China Sea Alliance would die as many poisonous weapons as possible. The absence of these experts in the South China Alliance would only make it a loose end. The more Yan Shuren thought, the more frightened and angry he was. What kind of enemy would actually make a plan that was so deep, long and even hundreds of years old to destroy the South China Sea Alliance? Not everyone drank the supplementing spirit soup. Shu Langqiu suddenly frowned and said with gritted teeth. There is one person who has never drank it. Yan Shuren froze, then his complexion became complicated. Yang Chen was on the side, but he didn't say anything, he just listened quietly, as if nothing was of concern to him. In my South China Sea Alliance, Elder Luo has always disliked seafood, never ate fish and shrimp, and naturally did not drink the supplementing spirit soup made from a fire dragon fish. Yan Shuren seemed to speak into the air when saying these words. But everyone knew that these words were said to Yang Chen. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Yang Chen knew that he couldn't speak out of turn, and he justified for Elder Luo who he had never seen before. It's not a big crime to not eat seafood. It's not that Yang Chen's character was good and he has to say good things for others. It was really the friendship of other people for hundreds of years. They just saw Yang Chen for the first time. If he talked badly, who knew what others would think, simply be a good person and think of people for the benefit. Even if Yan Shuren didn't want to think that way, it had nothing to do with Yang Chen. Elder Luo wanted to have a relationship with the Dao sex in the Central Plains. Yan Shuren smiled and did not hide anything from Yang Chen, who he met for the first time, but said by himself. Is it really a coincidence? Hearing what Yan Shuren said, Yang Chen's heart sank for a moment. How could this hundreds of years of arrangement be so similar to the greatest heaven sect's plot in the Pure Yang Palace? Hidden Dragon Cave was the minion of the greatest heaven sect. Was there a shadow of Hidden Dragon Cave in it? Sir, I don't know if this poison can be cured. Shu Langqiu has always been concerned about whether her son could be saved, and now she was more concerned about whether her husband and herself could be saved, so after Yan Shuren has vented, she immediately asked Yang Chen. If the poisoning day is deep, there is no way for even a Great Principle Golden Immortal to do anything about it. Yang Chen sent Shu Langqiu directly into the abyss, but immediately pulled her from the abyss to the sky. But now the poisoning is not deep, but it is difficult. As long as you find a few herbs, you can detoxify after refining it. As for young master, it is even simpler. The same herbs can be used without refining. What kind of medicinal herbs? As long as the gentleman can't say it, even if it is under a mountain of swords and in the sea of fire, the South China Sea Alliance will be able to find it for you. Shu Langqiu was really excited. Yang Chen could not only cure his husband and himself, but also her son. Was there anything more enjoyable than that? It is not necessary to go down the mountain in the sea of fire. The medicinal materials are not too rare. In the Central Plains, it is easy to find. Yang Chen waved with a smile. My 10,000 treasure tower branch had it, but unfortunately, the branch was destroyed by the Hidden Dragon Cave, killing and stealing the goods. When Yang Chen talked about the 10,000 treasure tower, Shu Langqiu remembered what happened to Yang Chen. Yang Chen helped them so much. Whenever possible, the South China Sea Alliance also had to come forward and put pressure on the Hidden Dragon Cave. When she was just about to tell Yang Chen, Shu Langqiu's face changed a little, turned to her husband Yan Shuren, and quietly said Elder Luo also made good friends with the people of the Hidden Dragon Cave, and Hidden Dragon Cave was willing to join the Central Plains Dao Sex. The 10,000 treasure tower had medicinal materials for treatment. It happened that the branch of 10,000 treasure tower was destroyed by Hidden Dragon Cave. Is it a coincidence? Sir, if the medicinal materials are taken alone without any refining, is it effective? Shu Langqiu seemed to think of it and asked Yang Chen again. Of course, it is impossible to completely detoxify, but it can offset a lot of toxicity. Yang Chen answered. Okay. Good. Yan Shuren also figured out a lot of things. He could not help but even say two good words. What an Elder Luo, what a Hidden Dragon Cave. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 410. We are not here to be reasonable. When a thing is rare, it becomes precise. The specialties of the monster race could earn a lot of money when they get to the Central Plains Dao Sex. Similarly, the specialties of the Central Plains could also make a lot of money when they get to this island in the South China Sea. The 10 Dao San Tree Sure Towers branch in the South China Sea had this idea. Shang Yuanfeng was not just a simple businessman, but has reached the realm of pursuing profit maximization. Based on this reason, the price of some things in the 10 Thou San Tree Sure Tower branch could definitely make people jealous. The Hidden Dragon Cave's move against the 10 Thou San Tree Sure Tower branch was not necessarily a matter of wealth. However, now with Shu Langqiu's analysis, the purpose of the Hidden Dragon Cave against the 10 Thou San Tree Sure Tower branch has changed dramatically. At least in the hearts of the leaders and couples of the South China Sea Alliance, that was definitely a conspiracy. Mr. Yang, you can rest assured, we will help the 10 Thou San Tree Sure Tower branch get justice. After hearing from Shu Langqiu about Yang Chen's intention in meeting with the South China Sea Alliance, Yan Shuren patted his breast and promised. He was not kidding. His son and his wife, the senior members of the South China Sea Alliance lives, were in the hands of Yang Chen, not to mention sacrificing a hidden dragon cave that was hostile to the South China Sea Alliance. Even if they let the other sea alliances in the South China Sea fight at the same time, they would not hesitate to make a challenge. I dare not ask you to do so. It is the grudges between the 10 Thou San Tree Sure Tower and the Hidden Dragon Cave. Naturally, it is between my 10 Thou San Tree Sure Tower and the Hidden Dragon Cave to resolve them. Yang Chen did not want the South China Sea Alliance to intervene. Once the South China Sea Alliance intervened, not to mention that they would not kill the Hidden Dragon Cave, it would be delayed for some time. It was estimated that Yang Chen does not want to see it. Especially the group of people who came with Yang Chen came with the purpose of killing and setting fire with Yang Chen. They really wanted to release their frustrations. There was no need to mention others. It's estimated that Shi Kui and Xie Sha would be seriously dissatisfied, let alone that it seems to have been how long Hu Yun has been suppressing himself. Here is my South China Sea Alliance, how can I let Mr. do it by himself? Yan Shuren and Shu Langqiu were strongly discouraged and must take matters into their own hands. It's not that they have to take the initiative. Yang Chen was now valued by the top of the South China Sea Alliance. He was a small master in the Jidan stage, and if he argues with the Hidden Dragon Cave, which has several masters in the Yuning stage. Not to mention the outcome, once Yang Chen was injured, wouldn't the hope of the South China Sea Alliance be lost? In any case, they couldn't let Yang Chen do it himself. I don't dare bother the South China Sea Alliance, as long as the leader can uphold justice, then I wait to resolve my grievances. Yang Chen has made up his mind. Anyway, as long as the South China Sea Alliance was in its early stages, it proves to itself that 10,000 Treasure Tower has occupied the truth. Naturally there was a group of killing stars to solve. Yan Shuren and his wife discouraged him for a long time, but Yang Chen was determined about this. There was no way to stop him, and the two could only make concessions. The South China Sea Alliance would absolutely cooperate with the 10,000 Treasure Tower. Whatever they needed would be provided by the South China Sea Alliance. Yang Chen W2 is not an empty talker. He has directly reconstituted a medicinal pill from his existing medicinal materials, but it could only temporarily restrain the toxicity of Bian Yang and allow Bian Yang to maintain a normal life for a month. The Bian Shuren couple also had no doubt and gave Bian Yang the medicine. Less than half a day later, Bian Yang, who had been lying on the sickbed with weakness and incapable of action, immediately recovered his strength. Bian Yang originally had the Jidan stage cultivation base. For the past 100 years, Yuning and Dacheng stage masters have been injecting spiritual power into him. After a long period of time, his cultivation has risen without falling, but has faintly reached the breakthrough edge. He believed that as long as the toxicity in his body was completely removed, it was estimated that he could reach the Yuning stage. This time, it surprised the couple. For hundreds of years, they have only maintained their son's longevity, and now they suddenly saw their son standing in front of them, calling his father and mother. At this moment, both of them seemed to be in a dream. In particular, Bian Yang's cultivation base has reached the peak of the Jidan stage, and he was facing a breakthrough immediately. This was absolutely what made the Bian Shuren couple feel like winning a big lottery with a prize pool of 100 million yuan, and they were so happy that they didn't know how to celebrate. Bian Yang was paralyzed for more than 100 years, and he lived a life that was worse than death. Today, Yang Chen gave him a medicinal pill, and he immediately became no different from normal people. Bian Yang heard the words clearly on the sickbed. Bian Yang used to think he was ill, but now he knows that he was secretly poisoned by others, and it turned out to be through his body. It was spreading to the top of the entire South China Sea Alliance. For a moment, Bian Yang's anger was almost impossible to contain. He heard that Yang Chen was going to deal with the Hidden Dragon Cave and even planned to join hands with Yang Chen. After all, it was discouraged by Bian Shuren and his wife, but they still promised Yang Chen that they would go through fire or water for him if necessary. Yang Chen could have eliminated the hidden dangers of the South China Sea Alliance in one fell swoop, but Yang Chen still kept his hand, but first rescued Bing Yang and said that he did not have a complete set of medicinal materials. This also forced the South China Sea Alliance to do its best to help Yang Chen instead of turning a blind eye after the possible hidden dangers were resolved. Next, the South China Sea Alliance must be communicating at a high level. At least those things that Yan Shuren and Shu Langqiu analyzed just need to be known by their brothers. Of course, the suspected elder Luo would definitely have a very tragic end. There was no way that everything that happened with him was coincidental. But the lesson learned from the Pure Yang Palace, Yang Chen was almost sure that elder Luo was a secret spy of the greatest heaven sect. If there was a problem with the senior officials of the South China Sea Alliance, elder Luo would be in control. Then, with the great achievements of annexing the Hidden Dragon Cave, he could soon stabilize the entire South China Sea Alliance. At that time, the rogue cultivators in the South China Sea would also be placed under the power of the greatest heaven sect. Everything was a good plan, but unfortunately they met Yang Chen. These people should never have destroyed the branch and killed some Pure Yang Palace disciples and attracted Yang Chen and a group of evil stars. Now, a group of evil stars headed by Yang Chen was on the sea not far from the Hidden Dragon Cave. Gongsun Ling's ship floated quietly on the sea and everyone was in the cabin, drinking silently. The crowds from the Pure Yang Palace were ready and now they were waiting for the South China Sea Alliance people to arrive to surround them so that Yang Chen and the others would not make an omission and have a fish that leaks from the net. With the help of the South China Sea Alliance, this time the Hidden Dragon Cave couldn't escape. Seniors, this time, we are not here to make sense with the Hidden Dragon Cave. Yang Chen looked at the time which was almost over and said to some masters who were already eager to start, the blood of disciples of the sect cannot flow in vain, there is nothing remaining of the 10,000 treasure tower branch, so the Hidden Dragon Cave also cannot leave alive. When the Hidden Dragon Cave attacked the 10,000 treasure tower branch, it was also unreasonable. After the killing and overstocking were completed, it was announced that it was the 10,000 treasure tower who was bullying, and the hidden dragon cave presided over justice. Anyway, it was fairly accomplished. Who outside of the South China Sea would fight for a rootless and unmanageable 10,000 treasure tower? Even if the 10,000 treasure tower was just a branch here and they might have some links outside, but what about it? This was the South China Sea, and the hidden dragon cave was the ground snake. This 10,000 treasure tower was not a big sex shop. Who would offend the ground snake in the South China Sea for the 10,000 treasure tower? But the high reward, this was possible. However, since it was a business, it was necessary to calculate costs and benefits to deal with the hidden dragon cave, a foreign powerhouse. What kind of price do these masters need to pay? A small 10,000 treasure tower was not so rich. It was precisely because of this that the hidden dragon cave could attack with a peace of mind and not even inquire about the background of the 10,000 treasure tower. Even the shopkeeper was just a small fry in the foundation stage. They destroyed it with no psychological burden. However, the people in the hidden dragon cave had no idea what a terrifying force was behind this little character in their eyes. Therefore, when a group of evil stars from the Pyongyang Palace appeared around several islands in the hidden dragon cave, many people did not even know what was going on. The terrifying attack began in an instant. The 10 Yuning stage masters did not give any warning, and each of them automatically used their treasure to enter the hidden dragon cave. Wherever they went, those children of the hidden dragon caves were all dead and wounded. Yang Chen has said that there was no need to keep anyone alive. The 10 monster ancestors who followed Yang Chen originally followed Yang Chen to kill people. Why would they consider keeping anyone alive? They would have a good time in the periphery of the hidden dragon cave. Pitiful and sad screams suddenly sounded. This was a rogue cultivators alliance, not a formal sect, and was relatively loose in structure. In terms of inheritance, it was even more impure. There was no systematic inheritance, and almost everyone cultivated differently. Except for the upper level of the hidden dragon cave, which has the greatest heaven sect support and those advanced cultivation methods, most of them were obtained from various places. The low-level rogue cultivators were up against fierce Yuning stage monster cultivators. The result was not hard to imagine. The monster cultivators, when they kill, no matter what, it looks good and decent, plus this time Yang Chen was intentionally standing up and there was no scruples on everyone's hands. As soon as they got started, they used the most brutal trick. A cultivator may just use a flying sword to penetrate the heart, but these guys just come up and tear people into pieces. At the moment when the attack was not half a column of incense old, on the islands of the hidden dragon cave, there were countless stumps and broken arms on the periphery, internal organs were lying on the ground, and blood flowed away. When timid people come here, they would definitely think that they had reached the Blood Sea slaughterhouse, not a place of cultivation. As for the old tree demon Avatar and Huyun, they still disdained to attack some guys in the Kai refinery stage, foundation stage and Jidan stage. These were the cannon fodder that made Shikui and Shesha and the others let out their anger. Who dares to act unruly in my hidden dragon cave? Yang Chen and Gongsun Ling's ship slowly arrived at the edge of the main island of the hidden dragon cave and heard someone yelling loudly. But then, there was a scream of screams, and then no one dared to shout loudly. Yang Chen, not leaving anyone alive, wouldn't it be too much? Gongsun Ling listened to the stern voice, looked at the flesh covered on the ground not far away, and asked suddenly. After all, Gongsun Ling was still a woman who has not been tempered in the killing field. Compared with Zhanxian's character who doesn't mind killing, she would always feel a little soft-hearted when seeing such a cruel scene. When they killed our people, the treasurer of the 10,000 treasure tower, they didn't feel too much. Yang Chen turned his head and said. If Gongsun Ling thought this way every time, Yang Chen was worried about whether she could survive the disaster in the future. I mean, for those high-level masters, if we leave them, perhaps there may be a few more free slaves in my mountain river geographical map. Gongsun Ling explained with a smile. Now Gongsun Ling has called the guys she has taken into the mountain river geographical map as slaves. In fact, those people do slave work, but they don't know it yet. Gongsun Ling's words also meant that Yang Chen's worry was not necessary at all. The Gongsun Ling of this life was no longer the Gongsun Ling of the previous life. Relax, there will be opportunities in the future. After confirming that Gongsun Ling was not having the kind of character that Yang Chen should be worried about, Yang Chen smiled and comforted. Looking at the tragic situation of the disciples of the hidden dragon cave on the island, his heart seemed to have returned to that of his previous life. How were there 10 Yuning stage masters besieging the hidden dragon cave, and how similar were they to the previous 8 Yuning stage masters besieging the Pyongyang Palace? In the past, his master sent Yang Chen away from the siege to avoid being implicated. The memories of his previous lives seemed to torture Yang Chen's heart, and now he finally released some. In Yang Chen's heart, he never had the concept of not giving others away. These were the blood debts owed by the greatest heaven sect in his previous lives. In this life, he could only use more blood to pay them, and there was no other possibility. The pitiful screams continued one after another, and Yang Chen and Gongsun Ling had stowed the ship and boarded the island. The avatar of the old tree demon and Hu Yun also followed as Yang Chen and Gongsun Ling slowly walked along the island's road a little into the center of the hidden dragon cave. The four were barely held back, and their bodies were fragmented along the way. The main attacker of this island was Shun Kui and Xie. The two murderous guys did not know how many lives were collected when they were in the deserted valley. Here, on the instructions of Yang Chen, they showed their fierce wildness. Finally, the screams were no longer heard, but the sound of the attack was louder, and the rumbling rumors spread far and wide. You don't need to ask, you know, this was a great enemy. This was the main island of the hidden dragon cave. It was inevitable that there were masters here. Numerous warnings were sent out, and the hidden dragon cave was like a beast that had been deeply stabbed at this moment, finally reacted and began to organize a counterattack. In the distant sky, dozens of streams of light flashed out. It was exactly the figures of flying swords flying towards the main island of the hidden dragon cave. Obviously, this was the masters who were out or those who have a good relationship with the hidden dragon cave coming to help. In the hands of Hu Yun, it was not known when a glittering stick appeared. He flew into the air in the middle of the sky and raised a thick and scary stick high, facing him at dozens of lanes. The streamers that flew over were smashed down. After the sound of thunder, like a thunderbolt, Yang Chen and Gongsun Ling suddenly saw more than a dozen human-shaped pits on the ground. There were a few groaning sounds in the pit. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more.